Bum 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 bum. Tomatoes. Hey fellas, welcome back to another indie game dev live stream. Hopefully my audio is plugged in and working this time, so you can all hear me loud and clear. Leave an F in the chat if you can hear me. I'm gonna be doing some. I'll be showing you some of the stuff I've been working on lately, and I managed to fix a lot of bugs with the stuff I was doing, which is leaving me to move on to new stuff that I'm excited about, and that's what we're all here to do today. So, yeah, how are we all doing, boys? Can you all hear me all right? Can you all see me? I see a few yo's, see a few hello there's, see a few awesome. So, I guess we will just, I'll show you guys what's been going on lately. If you're new to the channel, I'm Raymond, the developer for this game, Project Feline, which is a prototype about a half cat, half human character that can run on walls and all that jazz. So at the moment, though, I've been doing an intense amount of development on a sort of back-end framework for my user interface. And it may seem like a strange thing to focus on at this point in development, but I've been passionate about user interface for a long time, and I've done a lot of graphic design work in the past, and it's something I wanted to get knocked over like as soon as possible. And I've spent the past couple of months just learning how to do all this stuff because I haven't really been using Unreal for all that long. I used to be an avid Unity user, so switching over has been pretty interesting. But here we have the results of I think it's months of work that's gone into this at the moment. So I've got a few different things going on here, which I'll walk you all through. Oh, sweet. Okay, because I got my single monitor here and I got my laptop here. So if you guys can hear like a jet plane, it's just my laptop fan. But yeah, I'm just checking the chat window. Hey everybody. So here's how it's looking so far. I know it doesn't look like much yet, but we got some very nice quality of life settings like field of view, which actually does work. So if I go and hit back, that does work pretty nicely. And I'm so happy for that. So there we have the console PS4 experience or whatever, and this is like PC Master Race experience like that. We also have HUD opacity, which doesn't work yet, but I just need to add something to the HUD, but it saves and loads perfectly. There's also some test settings here, which I'll be mostly using for this stream, and these are just test drop downs and test floats, and you can see there's a bunch of strings that print when I do that. We have some video settings, which is what I worked on in the last stream, and those are all finally done. I'm very happy that they're done because I'm really tired of working on these, but they're all done. So you can go ahead and sort of customize as much as you want, as you would expect from a typical PC game. So you've got your display mode, your resolution, brightness. It has HDR support, but my monitor doesn't support it. But if yours does, you'll have the option to change that. VSync mode. You also have this little thing called a display safe zone, which I don't think I had last time. And if I shrink that down, you'll see that it kind of shifts the UI in a bit. So if you're running it on some weird kind of screen that clips the edges, that's a way you can sort of help get to buttons that might get cropped off on certain displays. I think most consoles have this kind of setting, so I thought to add that in. The red areas you see, of course, are debug things, so you won't see those in the final game. We also have a custom frame rate limit mode. If you want to like cap it at 30, or if you want to cap it at like something really high, you can do that. Or you can just change it to automatic, which will try to keep it at around 60, just to, so it's not too much work for your graphics card or your computer. And then of course the master PC thing is all the graphical settings. So you can kind of choose from a preset. So you can select low, medium, high, or very high. I thought about renaming this to Ultra, but I'm not sure if I can get the game looking Ultra just yet. So I'm going to stick with very high. And then if you don't like what's in the presets, you can ultimately change and make your own custom one. So I can go ahead and change one of these, and it'll select custom mode, and I can go in and let's say I wanted to turn off motion blur, which I'm sure a lot of you would want to do. You can do that. You can also change the resolution, scale, graphics quality, texture quality, all that stuff. So that's been the yeah, I've been working a lot on that lately. That's all done. And on top of that, we also have some other stuff I was working on last time, which was these audio settings, which now completely work. So I can set a master volume slider here, and then if I want to change each individual mix, I can. So I can change the effects volume, which will do things like the gameplay sounds and the UI. Dialogue volume, which there isn't any yet, but if there was going to be, this is where you can control it. Ambience volume, which I don't have any ambient noises yet, but if there is any ambience, they could group it this way. And then, of course, music volume. And then, of course, there's a little thing for subtitles on and off, if the game should ever need that. And if it doesn't, I'm sure I could give this to someone who might have a need for those settings. So it's always good to have. And then, of course, the thing that we're going to be doing today is these input settings. And I've got a little test widget here to kind of figure out the functionality, because I'm not going to go in just yet and make each input, because I first want to figure out how to do it, which is why we're here. So you're going to kind of watch me figure it out as I go, which I'm really panicked about because I got no clue how to do it, but we're going to figure it out. At the moment, I'll show you what this does, though. So it's just called input test, and it basically lets you put in a key into this little unassigned box. So if I click on this and just press like F, it will store F in that box. Or if I click it again and press arrow keys, you can do that. Any input, really. I'm pretty sure it works with gamepad as well. And what I need to do is get this input grabber thing to save to the action mappings in the editor, which is how Unreal handles inputs. For example, you might have, I can actually show you those right now. So if we go over to project settings and input, there's a whole bunch of mappings that I've put in. It'll put in some by default, but I've put a lot in over the months I've been working on this. So let's say jump, for example. What does that map to? We can see if we hit the drop down, it's mapped to spacebar and gamepad face bottom, which I believe if you have a gamepad, if you're talking about face buttons, top, right, left, bottom. So that's X on a PS4 controller or A on an Xbox controller. And I've also got it mapped to the left bumper. So for those guys that kind of... I always like to have my hand on the joystick, like, all the time. So I kind of like having extra mappings. It's really nice when you got those controllers with the flaps on the back. That's really nice. But if you don't have one, you can map it to this. But I guess the whole point of this is so that we don't have to go into the editor and change it. The user will be able to do it without having to, like, crack open the source code for the project. So that's what we're going to be trying to figure out. Hopefully... that was a bit more comprehensive than my explanation from last time. But yeah, we're going to just get into it and figure this thing out. I've got a few things set up here. I've got my save game object, which has the base options that need to be saved. And you can see there's all the video, graphical settings, whatever. And we have, what is this? This is a test I'm going to do. So there's input action test, which is an input map I've just set up before I started the stream. And I want it, just to test this system out, I'd like to be able to press F and have it print something. And then I want to be able to remap that to another key and have this action here execute. And then we'll know it works. We also have this baby, which is the thing that you can assign an input to. So that's going to be what you click on to assign the input. And then, of course, this is the actual setting that will control the saving and loading using the results or captured input from this little thing. So yeah, it's a bit of a little complicated of a setup. It took me a while to figure out this framework, but yeah, it's been working pretty well so far with all these settings. So before I get into extra focus mode, I'll just check the chat, see if you guys have any questions or feedback so far. So cool to see a lot of you guys joining in again. I recognize some of the names this time, so it's good to see some returning viewers. Yeah, someone already guessed. I am using a MetaBox laptop as my second screen, if you couldn't already tell from the fan. Yeah, I've also noticed with the settings menu, to reply to your comment, Scopy, I booted up Crysis the other day just to see what kind of settings they had. And I actually found that I have more settings in Crysis in some degree. For example, Crysis didn't have a field of view setting, which is pretty surprising for a PC game, but it was 2007, so maybe that wasn't as much of a thing. I also have, I don't know, like, a lot of these I've literally just, from all the PC games I've played, I've just tried to amalgamate the best settings that I can try and do into one menu. For example, there was some I wasn't able to get in, like audio output device, which is a common one I see, where you can change what speakers that the game comes out of. Unfortunately, that's not like you can't access the audio hardware through blueprints, so I kind of had to put that one off until maybe a later update when they do introduce it. But I've done the best I can with what with what blueprints are capable of doing. So in terms of audio, it's pretty standard. This is what you get: just volume, mixer settings, and some subtitle options. Video settings, I would say this is probably the largest one and took the most time. Just with the whole, yeah, because it's a lot. It's the only one that gives you a scroll box that you actually have to scroll through. And then, of course, the input settings I will be doing now. And gameplay settings, it's mostly just the two main things like HUD opacity and FOV. There might be some more later depending on some other gameplay things. And then this is where I put the test ones here as well. So Boolean test and float test are just to test these, making sure they save and load properly and all that. So these were actually broken a couple days ago, so I've spent a while trying to fix them so that they all work, and luckily they do now, which I'm really happy about, so that's great. Did someone leave I'm just looking at the chat, someone's referencing Tim Allen Grunt Returns. I'm going to assume this is someone I studied with a few years back. For those that know me from a while ago, I once made a game using the Tim Allen grunt as the prototype sound for all the dialogue. That might make a return here. It's a pretty good test sound, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I've heard that there is a plugin for Keybinds, but that was, I think, before Unreal itself implemented it in the engine. And I looked into it, but then I found this little mini tutorial article, which I'll be working from. And it's apparent that they've added this now to the engine without a need for a plugin. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So, yeah, it looks pretty straightforward to me. I'm mostly just going to be looking at the graph, because that's pretty straightforward to me. It's basically, it's going to take an input, map it to an input action name, and then add it to the list. I'm not actually sure if you can modify action, but we'll find out, I suppose. We'll see how things go. So let's just get stuck into it, I guess. Where do I need to be? Settings menu. Yeah, I've got a lot of widgets open at the moment. So I think this one is fine. We don't need to touch this, but what we are going to be using is the return key, because this will store a key value that we put into it. So if we go over to settings here, and if we type in a key, that value we want to pass on to this setting. So this itself isn't the setting. This is a part of the setting. And the reason I'm doing it this way, because some of you might wonder why there's so many damn widgets. And that's because each of them, it's sort of like a Lego block, I suppose. So I can kind of just drag and drop and reuse them in different contexts. So this, for example, captures input. It's basically a slightly modified version of the one that Unreal gives you, but with some stylistic changes and a few variable changes. But the idea is you could put this to use in the form of a setting like this. So you can see there it is here in the actual setting object. But you could use it for another thing if you wanted to as well. I don't know what, but it's always good to plan and try to make your things usable in a context you might not foresee, because that'll just make it easier for whoever's going to end up getting their hands on this at any point in the future. Even myself, like 5 years from now, who knows? Maybe I need this for something. I don't know. So it's always good to just have that in mind when you're doing stuff. So I'll just read one last comment before I start doing things in here in the graph. Oh, hey, it's I see we got Tom, my boy, in the chat. Good to see you here, man. Glad you came by for a watch. Awesome, Luke. Thanks for joining in on the stream. Glad I know last time I picked a really bad time, so hopefully this time's a bit better for everyone. Yeah, Victory plugin. I did hear about that one, but I think Unreal should be able to do it on its own now, so we'll see what happens. Okay. So what I need to do, I gotta get out of talking mode and into working mode now. So let's have a look at that graph again. So we need to take, we've got a break input chord. All right, so let's give that a go. Because yeah, I don't know what kind of this is an input key map structure, which might not. I don't know if that's the same kind of variable or not, but we'll see. So this is the setting, and it's got a few different areas. So it's got the construction, and it's got loading, and it's got applying. So what we want to do is, let's try saving it first and see how we do. So we want to set, got a few variables here. Set test input. So yeah, I'm completely new to this, never done it before with inputs, so we'll just see how we do. I want to try my best to kind of keep an eye on this chat window as well, because I think last time I didn't watch it too intensely enough, and I ended up wasting a lot of time. So hopefully I can sort of keep looking back and forth between these. Awesome. So yeah, all right. Let's see here. So I want to take. Oh, wait a sec. First, okay, we've got a little problem. Input. Okay. So what kind of variable do we need? Actually, let's take a look at this. Okay, input chord. So this test variable, this is in my settings object now, and these are where this is like the spine of the settings menu. So these aren't the setting objects, but the setting objects will report to this list, which is a bunch of variables, and these all get written to a file and read from the file when they are loaded. I've got a few test ones here set up, which I might need to change. I just set this up when I made the file. I didn't touch them yet. So we're gonna be using mainly test input. So we're gonna call this, gonna change that to an input chord for some reason. So let's do that. Okay, cool. So it gives me, with an input chord, I can hold shift, I can hold control, I can hold alt, and I can give it a keybind. So I might give it a default value. So I'll just have it F, because, you know, F is a great key. It's my favorite. And we can decide if we want it to be, if it needs to be held down with shift, control, alt, or command, but I don't think we need that, so that's okay. Now let's head over here. So now we should be able to, there we go, so we can now assign that. Now, the bottom root, because there's two roots it branches into. The bottom root is the root that happens when you apply the setting. And we're going to do something different with the top root, and I'll explain why in a second. So we're going to plug this over. I might need to move this down a bit. And for those that are old comers to my streams, you'll know that I spend a very particular amount of time straightening and organizing these blueprints, because I don't know, I might have OCD, I don't know, but I really can't stand mess. So you'll probably see me aligning things a lot, and I would encourage that if you're using blueprints like me, like, invest the time into doing it, because then some guy might look at it one day and they might want to, like, it'll get burned in their memory with how damn neat it is, and that's what I hope for with everything I try and do. So yeah, it's a pleasant feeling when you can look at something you made like a year ago and it still makes sense, which is very rare in programming, but I try to do my best to strive for that. So this time, this is going to be interesting, because normally what I do here, so this top root, you see there's a little branch that happens beforehand, and this is if we want to apply defaults. And what that means is basically if the apply event gets called, and it'll know, because this uses what's called an event interface or a blueprint interface. So this is an interface event, and the settings menu, the buttons where it says apply and whatever, will call that event, and then these objects, these settings, each of them receives the event and has their own little set of instructions to do with that event. So to show you a complete example of what that looks like, we can head over to my other setting. These things are pretty easy one, we'll open that. So this is what its complete version looks like. So on the load, it'll call its, I figured out how to do parent-child widget blueprint things. So I figured out how to do that, which saved me a lot of time. So these all inherit from some base setting, which I have. And when it loads the parent load, which doesn't have anything, but if it needs to, it will do it. And then it'll get a save game. And well, this little function is a custom function that checks for a save game object. And it'll read its vsync property and set the drop-down box. That's loading it. And applying it it'll when apply is called, this setting will set the vsync of this file to true if it's setting from default, or false, or whatever the drop down is if it's not being reset. And then it'll save it, and then if it's being reset, it'll have to reload this drop down, which took me ages to get right, but what that looks like in the end, it may seem kind of weird, but it means if I change one of these and hit reset, it'll snap the values back to their defaults, which is pretty handy. And then after that's done, it'll actually go to the engine settings and turn on vsync. So that's what an example of something complete looks like. Now each setting has a slightly different one because they're all different settings. So input isn't going to touch vsync, so we can close that now. But it follows the same structure more or less if you follow. So you can see it's following the same paths and branches. Instead of setting vsync, it's doing this input map. So I need to figure out how we can just I don't know if I can plug in a key to this. I don't know if I can like input chord, break input chord. I don't know if that lets me do anything. Maybe make input chord is what I'm looking for. There we go. Yeah. So this is gonna be the little thing that kind of sets the default value. So I'm gonna go in F key. That's my default. And that's all I need, I think. I also figured out how to use the keyboard shortcut for aligning blueprints, which saves a lot of time. So I'm very happy I figured that out. And for those wanting to know, if you hold Shift and use WASD, you can align it. So I'm holding Shift D, Shift A for this, and that's pretty neat. So yeah, so there's the default, save game slot, load. Okay, then what? All right, so I've got this little thing here, which I put in just before I started streaming. And this is from that graph that I was looking at earlier, and this is supposedly how you do it. So you need to get this input settings object, and it looks like we can get its mappings, which will be interesting. So let me just think for a moment. So, well, let's try doing what they have here. Okay, so what's happening here is they're taking the input that's been plugged in, that's been captured, and then they're getting the action mapping in the editor, and they're removing all the they're removing all the mappings and replacing them with this new one from the looks of it. So we might as well give that a go. I'm not sure if that's what I want exactly, because I'd like to be able to map multiple keys to one binding, which I know is very handy for those that, especially those with a mouse that has those thumb buttons, because I always like to, you know, have it mapped to a key here and then a mouse here, so that if I'm at my desktop, it'll work, but if I'm on my laptop that has this crappy, like, Logitech mouse that doesn't have thumb buttons, it'll still have a keyboard mapping, or whatever reason you might want to do it. It's a common feature, so, well, let's just start with getting one input, and then we'll work our way to multiple inputs at some point. So, what do I need? I need a for loop. So we're going to plug that in. I might just line this up a bit better. Alright, so it needs an action name as well, and I'm wondering if there's a smart way we can get that without having to type it in manually. And I think there might be. If we... I think I made a variable in the widget selector that'll give me the input name. At least I was hoping it would. I swear I just added it in. I thought I did. Oh! Okay, it does exist, but I need to get input key selector. So this is getting the actual... Oh, wait a moment. No, that's not it. Get... there should be a thing called get key. That is in the... one moment. Let me... Oh, did I make it private? I hope I didn't. That would be silly of me. So that is not private. Keys... No, that's the key selection text. I want this one called... Oh, it's action mapping. I typed it completely wrong. Where's my... Ah, here it is. So we should be able to just type action map. There it is, get action mapping. So that'll return the name of whatever action mapping that this particular drop down, or not drop down, I don't know what you call those things. It's called an input selector, input key selector. I'm just going to call it a selector, I guess. But this will return the name of an action mapping, which we can then plug in. Oh no, it won't let me plug it in. Okay, that's text. We need an action mapping name. How do we get that? Can we return it? I wonder. Action map. Interesting. Wonder how you do that. I'm just checking the chat quickly to see what you guys reckon. Do you think you'll ever comment the blueprint? Of course, definitely. This looks like I have the comments up here actually from when I'm done. But yeah, at the moment, while I'm working on it, I leave it uncommented and then I go and comment it later. Because I already know where, like, this is one cluster, this is another cluster. But usually I don't like to fiddle around with the bubble size because I still need to add things. So once it's reached the size it's going to be, then I go and add the comment bubble around it. And yeah, for those that want to scrub back, you can look at when I was opening my VSync option and it's all commented and everything. But yeah, always comment, because if you don't, I don't know, there will be hell to pay. So I need to figure out how we're gonna get... Can you even make a variable? Oh, it's a name. I was reading that completely wrong. Name. That's a thing. Okay, sweet. Now, question is, can we... Actually, no, we don't need to set that in the code. We can... Because here's a cool thing. Because it's a variable, I can just go over to my default class defaults and... well, I don't need to set it there. I need to set it on the setting. Which... So this should have that slot now. Action mapping test. Okay, so I've named it test in my project, so that should just plug. There we go. So that should just work. Okay. And just want to line this up nicely. Now this. What did I need that for? Okay, so what we need to do now is do the rest of that thing. So we gotta remove. I'm not sure if this is what I want, but we'll try it and see what it actually does. Oh wait, I need to remove. Wait a second. Remove action mapping. Oh, okay, we need to remove action mapping. There we go. So we're going to bring this wire around this guy. And then plug him in there. And then plug him in there. And when it's complete... What's the force rebuild key maps? I'll tick that off because this guy has it ticked off. And we'll tick it on for this new one because the other guy's doing it. That's basically how you learn to do this. It's like, oh, what's he doing? Okay, we'll just do what he's doing, and if it breaks, we'll try another way. Alright, so I should be able to just plug that in. And as for the actual... Okay, so this little bit here we need to then do. So that's where this thing comes in, I think. Maybe not. Maybe so. Get key... Get selected key. So we need it now. We use this guy, and we will break chord into the key and the other stuff that goes along with it, I believe. Oh, we need to make it into an action mapping. Make action mapping. So far, this is easier than I thought it would be, but I'm gonna guess it's gonna get real complicated real soon. Alright, what do I need to... Okay, so I should probably plug these all in. I kind of don't like how they've got this right here, where the little blue line's squiggling down. I don't like that. I hate that. That's... Ugh. Hopefully I can... Oh, I guess not. Why you do this? Alright, well, whatever. Might have to move this apart a little bit. Okay. Move this apart as well. Just to give it some room, and then this will now plug in here. Now as for the actual name, I'm guessing we could just use this again. I hope. Yeah, we should be able to. They do it a little different in that picture because they type it in manually, but we ain't doing that. Now, this doesn't look too neat, but whatever. Oh, I want to line this up with this. Alright, well that's a... we could get that neater, I think. If I move this here. Yeah, that's looking better. Actually, yeah, this is okay. Alright. Could I move that up a bit? Yeah, okay, that's pretty okay. Maybe a little further up. Awesome. And then maybe a nice... I like to, wherever possible, I like having straight lines because they're just easier to look at. So we'll go ahead and move that close. Alright, so this is basically what's in that graph. So we kind of have that in. I don't know what's going to happen when I try and test it. But I get the feeling that I haven't done something right. I've broken my convention a bit. I think I'd be able to get away with not having that. Can I get key? Can I get... Can I plug this in? Yeah, awesome. That's more consistent with what I would normally do. No, but this, however, I'll need to sort out. Because, yeah, so what this will do, instead of reading from this again, it'll just read from the actual setting. Just in case there's something where the drop down might not be the setting or whatever. That's what I've done for my other blueprints. So I'm gonna just do it like that. Alright, well let's compile and save it and see how we go. I have no idea what to expect. So there's unassigned. So let's assign it to... Actually, no, we should... It won't work because we haven't made the load yet. So it'll just keep returning unassigned, which isn't good. So let's make the load. Now loading it. How are we going to do that? I guess we'll need the key selector and we'll need to set... I don't know if there's a way to set key... Set key selection... Set selected key, that's the one. And we should just be able to plug that in. And it should, keyword, should do something that's expected at least. I'd imagine maybe 70% of this will be expected and the other maybe 20 to 30% will have no idea. And that's what we'll figure out. So let's just see how that works out. Alright, that's a bit worrying because we had assigned it a default value, if I remember. Let's have a check at the settings. Yeah, we set it to F. So I was kind of hoping it would put in F for us already. Unless we need to do something here. Or maybe we need to apply it for, I don't know. Let's just try and see how we have at the moment. So A. Alright, now if we exit and come back, okay, it hasn't done anything, but let's maybe get a print string going once we're sure if it saves the right thing. So I want it to print out the key we pressed and then maybe the input name. So I'm going to get an append going on, and then we're going to get the name of the action map was assigned to, and then whatever the actual key is, which we'll be able to get by using test input, maybe. Yeah. Get. Well, what? Let's. Can we convert that to a? No, we can't. Can we get action? Get name. Can we? I wonder. I want to make. Okay, so we need the test input, which we'll be able to get the key of, I believe. Oh, break input. Oh, this thing, yeah. Get name. Get display name. There we go. Then we can plug this in here. All right, let's try it. All right, well, it ain't printing nothing yet. Bit concerning. So what should happen is it'll take the low route because it's not resetting, and it should apply itself automatically because I spent the past week getting that to work, so it will apply automatically. However, this isn't really there's nothing going on yet. Oh, that's because wait, we need to do that at the end of the for loop, maybe. Let's see what happens when we do it like this. Again, not sure what's gonna. Okay, it printed something. Okay, assigned to none. Alright, why is it not applying when I do that? Oh, I might know why, actually. Ah, that's because I haven't done this yet. Alright, so this bit down the bottom, this is what sets the auto-applying stuff. So what we need is there's an event that'll happen with that little widget. So when we enter the key state, or when we press the key, an event will trigger, but we haven't set that up down here yet. For context, I'll show you what it should look like when it's done. So here's a drop-down VSync menu again, and you can see if I go to VSync, there's disabled and enabled. And there's an event when you click on the drop-down, an event when you change the value. And I'll show you what. So see, there's this event in the VSync setting. So when the event is changed, call this thing, which I've set up, which will kind of pass it on to some other things. And then if it's auto-applying and it's not being initialized automatically, then call the apply. So that isn't happening in ours yet, which is why it's not printing. So we need to set that up. And to do that, okay, so we need to get that event from our little guy here, input key selector. So you see how down the bottom here, there's the events. So you want, I think we want on key selected. We'll try this one. We might want the other one. I haven't tried out these yet, so let's just pick one. We might need to add a few things to it, actually. Let me go back to the actual widget. We're going to add a bool to it, and I'll explain why in just a second. So this is now inside of the input selector. Now, inside this input selector is an input selector, and I've done it a little weird here, but basically, I've got it proxied in a way. So I've kind of made my own widget of each kind of thing I might need. So I have my own slider, drop down, and an input selector. And the input selector is a thing in Unreal, but I've sort of put it inside of a size box into its own widget with passing on its like a proxy set of values. And I do that mainly for style consistency and custom functionality should I need it, which I do in this case. But the main purpose is, as I explained I think it was in one of my first streams, for those that had watched it, but you would have noticed that, it was in one of my devlogs actually as well, I think it was my last episode, episode 9, I talked about buttons, these little things down here. And the reason they all look the same is because they all use a custom button I made, which is based on the Unreal button. But I've only changed the style and maybe a few other things. And then I've used that everywhere, so if I do want to go back and change it, because the button doesn't, I mean, it looks alright, but I might want to change it later, as with all these other sprites, because the drop down here is pretty the slider's pretty so if I want to go and change it, I can, and it'll update all the sprites for everything, so I don't have to go in and change them one by one. And if you've done anything like this in Unity before, yeah, you'll know that that's a it's a headache having to go through and redo them. So I've done it in a way where I can change any one of these drop downs and it'll work for all the drop downs. So what I did earlier today was make my own input selector, and if I change this, it'll change all of them that I end up using. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of custom functionality to it, and you'll see why in a moment. So I'm going to take this key selected event, which I believe is what I want, and I'm going to add a boolean to it, and I'm going to, what am I going to name it? I remember there was a name I used. From initialize. And this basically is a check to say, hey, was this thing changed automatically from the main settings menu? Because it will do that occasionally if you want to reset the settings, for example, or load them. So we only want these auto-apply settings things happening when we, the user, is setting them, not when the game is setting it or loading it. Because if that happens, what you'll end up with, because by default, all of these sliders have a value of 0 and the drop downs have a value of 0 because they get set automatically by the settings. So that whatever's saved on that file, it'll go into these and set them. And this happens when the widget is constructed. However, if you don't have this Boolean check, it'll just, if these, because these here, for example, on this menu are set to automatically apply. So if I go and hit enabled and go back again, it'll save it. But the video settings don't automatically apply. And that's usually because, per convention, most of the time in games they don't. You have a separate little apply button because things like resolution and graphics, you don't want them automatically applying. Because if you change this too quickly and it's going to keep trying to change the graphics quality, it's just a mess to deal with and you might crash the game. So setting these drop downs won't actually do anything until you hit apply. But setting these ones will do something instantly. And to get that to work properly, you need to have this check. So I'm going to call this custom check and have that called from the actual Unreal's widget check. And I think that should do it, I think. Except, I gotta add that second one. Now this on is selecting key changed. I'm not too sure exactly what that is. I'll add a bull to this anyway, just in case. So from initialize. Now I may need to add a bool to this. I'm not too sure. I spent earlier today figuring this out because this from initialize bool is a little tricky. There's a specific way I have to implement it for it to work. It's a little annoying, but it's, you know, it's all right. It's not too bad. All right, so yeah, it might be a little confusing if you're just tuned in, but hopefully it'll make sense as I continue. I'll just read the chat quickly to see what you guys have to, because I haven't really been reading you guys that much today, so I'm gonna have a scroll through just pretty quickly. Hey boys. Oh, people from Mexico are watching this. Wow. Well, thanks for tuning in. I'm in Australia, where everything's upside down, so that's pretty cool. I hope things are cool in those countries where things aren't upside down all the time. I want to pick some new tunes to put on while I'm processing. I don't know I have no idea what I'm in the mood for. I've kind of just been chucking on random SoundCloud stuff throughout today, but I don't like doing that while I'm streaming because of the Australian internet. It's not great, so I like to have just music I've already downloaded playing in the background. So let's pick... oh, there was something I remember seeing over here. Yeah, this one's kind of cool. I'll put one of these on. Alright. And I might turn down the mix a little bit, because I think someone was saying the music was a little too loud. So I'll put that down to a 3. Cool beans. Alright. Oh, hey, it's, I recognize your name, Daniel Nessa. I recognize your name somewhere. Glad you could join the stream, man. Question from Scopy. How do I stay motivated? Great question. It's kind of difficult. It's a really interesting question. It's going to take a while to answer, but I'll just sort of see what comes to my head. Well, the first thing I try to do is make it into a habit, which I think I've done somewhat successfully. If you aren't familiar with habit making, I did a video a while back on how I started the habit, and the video I think came out just before I started working on this, and it was a while ago now. It was like last year. So if you go and look at my channel videos, you'll find it. It's called Escaping Artist Block, and in that video I talk about a technique I used to sort of get out of I was in a creative block at the time. I didn't feel motivated to do anything, but I got myself out of it just by tracking the amount of time I worked on things and rewarding myself. And that seemed to get me out of it. And then I just kind of kept going, and I'm probably gonna crash sometime. I'm just waiting for it. But at the moment, I've been pretty alright. The only real issue I've been dealing with is my sleep schedule. I've been sleeping way too much lately, for those that watched my last video. I have a lot of trouble getting to sleep and a lot of trouble waking up. Over the past few days though, I've been trying to improve that. So I woke up at 8 this morning, and same with yesterday. But I still go to bed super late, but you know, it's a start. It hasn't really affected my energy all too much. But anyway, I guess that's a really big one. I might have to answer it a little later when I'm a little bit less concentrated. That might be a good thing for a Q&A, because I think I was going to do another one of those soon. But yeah, I'd be happy to take questions for that in the stream or the comments. If you have a suggestion or something I'd like to do in a Q&A video for later, you can leave it there. I'll probably go back and view them at a later date. But yeah. Yeah, uni can bloody kill it sometimes. I personally didn't do uni, but I did teach for a number of years. And a lot of my students struggle with motivation for various reasons. And I, as a student, also did. But it's just, I don't know, it's like everyone has their own way of dealing with it. But I think in a huge part, it has to do with who you surround yourself with. And if you don't have good people to surround yourself with, then my solution, again, I can't validate how well this works, but if I can't find good people that really energize me, then I just don't spend time with anyone, sort of thing. So it gets lonely, but yeah, I for a long time, I was in a really toxic environment, and I got myself out of it, and I've been a lot happier since then. I've been a lot lonelier since then, but I've been managed to get more work done. So that is what matters more to me. And that's been working out so far, but I wouldn't recommend it as a long-term solution. You should probably have some friends. But yeah, if that's not your strong suit though, I just kind of, I don't know, just keep working, I guess, as an escape from all that. And I guess in a sense, I kind of make up for that because I have you guys, and that's a pretty cool community. Interacting with you guys on the channel and on Discord has been really cool. So that's sort of how I get my, like this right here, this is my social exercise for the week. Like, this is the only time I really talk to anyone. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm just in here, same place, but with, you know, just with me. All right, what am I doing here? Got a little sidetrack there. That Boolean, yeah, I needed to add that. Now I need to look at another setting I had made a while ago to see how I did this, because it's a little tricky. And if I don't get it right, it'll bug and it won't work the way it needs to, and we'll get crazy stuff happening. But if I go to, I think it's the slider, that's where I did it right, I think. Or I don't know, let's check the combo box, because that has that going on. So you can see here, or maybe I'll have to look at the slider, because there's a nice thing you can do with the combo box that you can't do with this other thing. So where's my slider? There it is. So you can see it's a little different from the default slider, because it has the default slider and a text box. If you want to type in a value, you can do that as well. It took a while to set up, but it works. All right, now here I do something interesting. I used to have this value plugged into things, but I think I stopped using it because it wasn't working. Or maybe I didn't. No, I guess I still do use it, so I'll need to make a variable for that. So it may not, this probably won't make sense what I'm doing, but what I'm doing, this has to be done so that we can load and apply and reset the setting properly without it trying to automatically set it as soon as it initializes, kind of thing. Oh wait, why did I call it that? From initialize, that's what I need to call it. All right, so this, I believe, is a private bool. Yeah. So this is just existing inside the scope of this blueprint only. And we need to get it and set it at specific points. I might move my slider over here. So in my slider, it uses this little variable as kind of just a proxy for what gets passed through it. It's not the most, I don't know if it's the most efficient way of handling that, but it's the best I could think of for the time. But it looks like when I change it, it sets it to 0. It uses it and then sets it back. So we'll do that because that seemed to work for my slider. And we'll do that for the, again, I don't know what the difference between these two is exactly, but I know that they're very similar from the 5 minutes of research I did before I started streaming. So I'm gonna put them both here. And now what we should be able to do, there's a little thing that will happen with the set and get values. So if I do set it, I need to set it to true or whatever's passed through it. So I'm gonna have to just double check my, I've got a bunch of functions here that I've proxied through from the default input selector. And this is basically, I've remade them from the default ones. You can kind of put in custom variables in it. So yeah, my head's so pigeonholed in this that I can't even fully explain it because I don't even know why half of it works, but it does. And that's what I have faith in. So if I'm doing a poor job explaining it, I apologize. This is honestly, in my head, it's just so damn cluttered, but I know that it works, so I do it this way. Now, there should be a thing to set key. Okay, so this, I need to add a bool to this. So anything that sets that thing, we need to pass through the initialize. And that'll basically allow us to have it apply the setting properly without it being overridden or anything like that in any weird ways. We don't need to set that. 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 And that we do. Actually, what's this? Key selection text. Oh, actually, no, we don't need that at all. That's just setting the value. At least I think it is. In key selection text. I actually don't know what that is. Oh, that must be the name of the input, I think. So key selection text. Huh. I wonder if I unplug this and just give it some random name. See if I want to. I'm not, again, I set this up earlier today, so I'm not too familiar with it. But okay, that doesn't really do anything. Oh no, it's because it doesn't do anything yet. Hold on. Maybe if I key selection text. Oh, that's when okay, we don't need to. That's the text that shows up while. Oh, I'll show you what that is. So if we click on this, okay, see it's changed it to that little thing I put in there. So basically, it's the text that shows up while it's waiting for us to press something. So we don't need to worry about this then. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not too experienced with this specific blueprint. I made it literally a few hours ago, so I'm very new to it. So we can move that back. So that means the only thing we need to worry about with the bool is the set selected key, which is great because that just makes things hell simple for us. Oh wait, we need to set it. So we need to add a bool and then set it, and then when it changes, so when this happens, it'll set it back to false automatically after it's been used. Yeah, it is very different from Unity, to answer your question, Scopy. For those that are new to the stream or to my channel, I actually have used Unity for a considerable amount of time. I used it since I was 2011, and I am currently 20, so it's a long time. Unity's great. It was great to start with. I ended up switching to Unreal about 9 months ago due to technical constraints, and one of those reasons was for the Blueprint visual scripting system, because I'm more of an artist than a programmer, and syntax and maths and all that stuff was really getting to me when I was trying to develop prototypes. So I switched to Unreal because I had a friend refer me to it, and I did not regret it one bit. I think it's been a pretty good tool for me so far, and yeah, it's been really cool. And you can kind of see, from what I've seen at least, I think there's a bit more soul and passion with Unreal, and I think that's because it was developed back in '98 by Epic to use in Unreal Tournament, and they've just kind of been building it for 20 years since then. Unity is a bit of a different story. It's more of a product developed by software engineers. However, Unreal is developed by actual game developers, and they need to make sure this is good because they need to use it for their AAA titles like Fortnite or Gears of War or those sorts of things. So you can kind of tell, I find, because the systems, the way they've thought about the systems, it's very much like it was made by game developers. So it makes a lot of sense. But I will say using Unity beforehand made it a lot easier to convert, because if I don't know what it's like to start from an engine like this with no knowledge, because I used Unity for a long time before then. So that definitely helped, I think. But I would say nonetheless, it's still pretty simple. Like, I still have no clue what I'm doing here. But I'm getting something done, so that's good. Now, where was I? Okay, so I think that might be all the setup we need, actually. Let me just double check to make sure I didn't leave anything hanging. Okay, so there's all the functions. Great. So now what should happen, I should be able to go back to my test input thing, I think. And, okay, so now we have that from initialize, which is great. Hold on, there's something I'm missing, I think. I might close my slider, I don't think I'll need that. I feel like it's something I'm forgetting here. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy. What's this? Oh, okay, that's done. Alright, so we should be good to go, I think, actually. So, now we get back to this. And then once we have this in, we can actually test the damn thing and see if it works. So we can now call. Oh, I need to make some event dispatches here as well. Actually, I'll add those to the parent setting, because I do have a parent setting in my components called setting, and this will have some. I thought to put the event dispatches in this one, so this inherits from this, and this has some dispatches. So I'm going to add to this list. What's the first one called? On key selected. And what does this have? This has a selected key, which is a chord structure. And a boolean, which I put in. Excuse me. All right, and then one more thing is, so that's on key selected. We also have that other one called on, again, I don't know what this one is, but we'll probably need it. I'm just reading the chat. So yeah, every time my eyes drift over here, I'm looking at my other screen. Yeah, great quote, Scopey. Thanks for quoting that. You should put that with a picture and some nice black and white picture with some, Times New Roman text. It'll make for a great inspiration. All right. Okay, so wait, that event. So what's this called? On is selecting key changed. That's a hell of a name. On is what? Hold on. What is it called? On. Wait. On is selecting key. I think that's on is selecting key change. Let me double check if that's the actual name of it. Yeah, it is. On is selecting key. Jesus. Well, yeah, that's scripting for you. On is selecting key changed. That is something to say 5 times fast. So this only has a Yeah, it's only got a bool. It doesn't pass any variables through it. Okay. So we should now be able to use these in our child here, which isn't this. It's this tab. So, okay, so now we should be able to call on key selected up here. So that's the one we just made. And we can plug this in, which will then take it to the actual drop down, not drop down, you know, the input selector. That's the thing. And I like to keep these straight as well. Let's straighten those. Now this is kind of just like a, we can probably get rid of that actually. Because I think that was testing that earlier for if the auto applying was working. I think it does. So we'll just do that. Key selected. On is selecting key changed. I don't know. We'll just plug this in, I guess. Oh no. On is selecting. Actually, we do want something to happen when this occurs, I think. Because what I'd like to have, that I've seen in most games, is when you do click on that thing that tells you to remap input, it will come up a little pop-up so you know that it's going on, kind of thing. Like, kind of like one of these, except saying please press any key or something like that. But in this case, I don't have it, so it just says any key. I like to be a bit more obvious, and I reckon that's pretty easy. All right, so it's now applying, which is great, except for one thing, and that is the fact that it's returning none, which is not good. So it's, why is it assigning it? Hold on a moment. We don't want to apply it immediately, do we? Or do we? Or no? Oh no, it does do that actually. I do have a little switch up here called apply on construct. So I'll go ahead and turn these both off. And I'm gonna go to my settings menu again. And we're gonna add a little something. So you see how some of these have an apply button? Some of them don't. What I'd like to do, just for the sake of testing it, is to see if this setting will work when it's not gonna automatically apply. So we can change it and then hit apply. And I also want to test it if it will work when we automatically apply. So that was the whole, that setup with adding the booleans, that was for this, but now we actually have to see if it will actually work and see if I actually made a mistake, because I might have. So we'll see how that goes. So I have, this is a little bit messy here, but we got a lot of categories. So I'm gonna go to my input category, and there's my input category. See, there's no apply button, so we're gonna add one. And this is where you kind of see the glory of all, like that widget stuff I was just doing there seemed kind of boring and complicated, but this is how it all pays off, right? Because let's say I want to get my button. Now this ain't no ordinary button. That common one, that's an ordinary button. That is my button. The WIB button, or that's an acronym I think for widget blueprint. But this is my special button. If I just click and drag this in to, I don't know, we'll drop it anywhere. Boom. And there's a button, and it's all styled and everything, and it looks shiny. And I can go ahead and click on it. Oh, hold on, let it go. Yeah, so I can go ahead and click on it, and I could say, hey man, this button is pretty epic. And there you go, and it's got the font, it has the paragraph stuff going on, and it's good. And it also automatically aligns with whatever it's in as well. So because this settings is a list, it'll put itself there. But if I take this button and drag it down to the footer, you see it puts it, oh yeah, see there it is. Hey man, this button pretty epic. So now it's down there, and that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna move it over, and it's gonna keep hiding because I'm using a widget switcher. And for those that have used those before, they are pretty finicky. But we're gonna rename this button. What are we gonna call this? We're gonna call this apply, but for the inputs. We're gonna call this, give it a name, underscore apply input. Yeah, so now we might change this to apply. There we go. And if I wanted to change the font color, it'll do it for all the buttons. That's the whole magic. And you just have to drag and drop it in. It's that easy. So that's kind of the payoff that you get, but the cost of that is me sitting here banging my head for hours. I think it's worth it because I'm gonna love drag and dropping these around And that'll be cool. Even though that's like only 10% of the actual process. But it'll make that 10% like the most memorable 10% ever. Anyway, so now we've got to tell that button to do something when we press it. And here's the actual settings menu. And if you guys saw my last stream, this was an absolute mess last time. And there was like 10 different functions and it was all over the place. Now it's a bit more streamlined. It actually has a very like specific set of instructions to do, and it only really manages applying, resetting, and saving and whatever. But the actual specifics of what to do when it saves is handled in these settings individually. But all this will do is basically what you see. So what we need to do is add an event for when we do click apply. So what I'm gonna go down and find that widget blueprint button, apply input. Here it is, and it's wait a minute. Oh, that's reset input. We want apply input. It's up here. And you see this button click. We can add an event for that. Oh, hey, so this is what's going to happen when we click apply. Well, I'll tell you what will happen. We'll put some of these graphs in here. So let's, well, I'm going to just align those up there quickly. God, I don't know why, but sometimes my widgets like change and move places when I'm not looking. But I want to copy some of this over. I think what I want is confirm. Yeah, I want something like that. So I'm going to copy that, put it here. I'm going to change this to be input. So this is a reference to that list of input settings that you saw. So that's a category of settings. And I'll take that category in this function here. And this is basically going to cycle each child of that category and call the interface call to apply. And that's basically it. And if we want to, we can tell it to go to reset defaults, which we don't want to do yet, because I think we already have that button. Yeah, we have that up here already, I think. Or do we? Oh no, yeah, we do. All right, so we're gonna get rid of this later, but it's just to test stuff. So hopefully that makes sense. So if we go back to, yeah, there it is. We have an apply button now. So if I go ahead and run that, so it may still apply automatically. I think I unticked it. So it won't apply automatically anymore, but if I hit apply, it'll call, see, it prints that string now, but it's still applying none, which isn't good. I don't think that's very good. We want it to print, in this case, assigned to D or whatever. So let's have a look at this. Any questions about that? Let me just check the chat. Yeah, I am very proud of those buttons, if you couldn't tell. That took me like a week to figure out, and I've kind of used that philosophy for every widget. It was worth it, I'd say. I'm really proud of them. And it'll just make everything easy, you know? Because let's say, like, 6 months later, I don't like how the buttons look, and I just want to add a new sprite and change how the buttons look, or maybe change the font, and I could just do it once, and it works. And yeah, that's pretty great in my opinion, because I don't want to have to painstakingly change each one. So, yeah. Anyway, so let's get into this. Because I've just got the chat window open, I've actually got no idea how many people we got watching, but if someone could pop a number in the chat, tell me how many people we got viewing me, so I can gauge how freaked out I should be at the moment. 25, hey, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Gotta be on my best behavior. I've got 25 people watching me do this. Okay. What's this for? Oh, this was for the print, so I'm just gonna move this out of the way because we're gonna delete that at some point. But that's interesting. Let's have a look at that. Maybe just the actual article. Let's have a look. So this is a tutorial I found that we're kind of basing this off. So this, yeah, I'm quite sure exactly how this all, let's read through it. So for each input mapping by the name of whatever this is, which is test, which we do have an input for, it's just called test. So for each actual keybind in that, it'll remove them all, and oh, I didn't add it. Oh, I'm an idiot. That's why it wasn't working. Add action mapping. There we go. Hey, maybe this will fix it. Who knows? I doubt it will, because every time I say that, it doesn't work. But hey, we can hope. Add action mapping, and then it'll print it. Well, hey, let's try it. Alright, so let's G for good. Hit apply. Oh, still assigned to none. Alright. Okay, didn't think that would work. Alright, let's see what else we gotta do. So it like creates a new binding for that action. And it takes it from test input. And that's the thing that's returning null. Well, that's very interesting. Because we are setting it up here. And that confuses me. Because it should what is that? It's an input key action mapping. Let's maybe return this instead. And see what we get. Because I don't know. Let's just try stuff. This is just one of those streams where I'm just kind of... This is sort of what actual development looks like. Like, for those that are wondering where the next devlog is, this is basically what every day for me looks like. It's just, oh, I don't know how to do this. Let's learn how to do it. And that'll go on for a few days. And then I'll get it, and then I'll move on to the next thing I don't understand. And that's how you learn. So it still isn't returning anything, which is... Oh, it's because I'm not hitting apply. Okay, well, at least we know that the apply key works. Oh, okay, well, it's returning something. Great. Maybe it's the loading I'm not doing right. That could easily be the thing. Because there's a few different types of variables we're dealing with here, I'm noticing. Because we've got an input chord structure, and that goes into a action mapping. So maybe we should be saving this as an action mapping and not as an input chord. Maybe. I actually don't know. That would make more sense. Maybe. So what's this? That's a key structure. Well, let's maybe change this and see how that works. Because I feel like we shouldn't be needing this many different variables, if that makes sense. So input action mapping? Was that? I just completely forgot what it was there. Make input chord, but from what? Key structure. I don't know, let's I feel like that should I don't know, I feel like that should be it, but whatever, let's try it. Let's compile it and see what it actually gives us. Okay, it gives us something interesting. It doesn't let us really do more than one input, which sucks. But let's see what it lets us do over in the graph. So I could probably close some of these actually. I could close this now. All right, back to here. Okay, so this is gonna break. That's okay. So what is this? I see. Okay, maybe that's not what we want. Because we don't want to... Yeah, we don't want to make an action mapping. We want to change the existing action mappings. So that's not really it. But what is an action mapping made of? Because it looks like it's quite a complex variable. It's... An action mapping is made up of a key and a bunch of these. So maybe... And what's this? Break input chord into key. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe we do want input chord. I don't know. Well, I mean, that's what that thing... Yeah, okay, so we should probably go back to input chord. Again, I'm completely new to this. I'm learning as I go. You get to watch me fumble about. Very fun. So I just want to set it to F, just to give it a default value of some kind. That, yeah, to me that looks like the right thing. Maybe. Or, I wonder. I don't know, I'm just gonna kind of think out loud, I guess. So I'm just going to drag some of these around and see what we end up getting. So what can we do with this? Well, we obviously, we don't want the action name because it's going to get mapped to a single action anyway. Which means there's something that we're not doing here that's correct. We don't want to add. Well, let's see what this thing gives us. Action map. What can it let us do? Add, remove, or get by name. All right. Set. Can we break this into something? Because I don't want to add maps particularly. I just kind of want to modify them. So what we'll do is we'll get rid of these. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. And we'll just try this again. What can we do with this? Break. Okay, we can break it into its action name and its key, which we want to do. I don't know. What can we do with this? I wonder. So, yeah, we kind of want to just... Because what's that? That's an input chord. Not a key. Oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, it breaks this into a... Oh, wait. So that's a... What does this turn it into? It breaks it into... Oh, so that's just what an input chord's made of. Okay. So maybe make input chord. I don't know. Let's just see what we get. What can we do with this, I wonder? Because we don't want to change... We kind of just want to change the key, more or less. So maybe... Maybe it's like one of these. I'll get rid of... Well, maybe I'll move that. Can I break all links? Oh, there we go. So this... I don't know. Oh, well, that's kind of like not doing anything because I'm just breaking it and making it again. All right, not helpful. I wonder. Actually, I should probably check the documentation. Thanks, Billy, for that suggestion. I completely forgot. It does. It should. Let's have a look at get input settings. Yeah, for those that can't see my little clock, it's currently 10 p.m. or almost 11 p.m. So I'm a little sleepy, a little bit, but yeah, streaming in the middle of the day ain't really that great because no one's awake on the other side of the planet. Well, that might be useful. I'll leave this open. Input documentation. Let's have a look at what they got. All right. Input, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. What do we got? Moving forward. Okay, this I understand. We want... So anything else about the actual, that thing that we were using? Let's go back. Setting up inputs. That's a tutorial. I know how to do that. Is that the exact same thing? What is this? Create blueprint using... What is that? Oh, that's like how to set up a player character. Yeah, okay. What is this node called? Get input set. Yeah, that's what I typed in. Maybe, let's go to the docs and let's just search it in here. Input settings. see what comes up, because this is like the general overview input stuff. I don't think I've clicked on that yet, so let's have a look. Oh no, we have. Okay. What else we got? Setting up an input on an actor. I don't know what that is. Setting up an input. TL inputs. Configure game input. That might be useful. Player input and pawns. I don't know. Let's open that. Configure input and creating. I think we might know how to do that. All right. Nope. Configure game input. Okay. Give me something good. Ooh, nope. That is programmer territory. I don't go. If I see a .h, I don't touch that. Because yeah, spoiler alert, I'm not a real programmer, I just script stuff. But I know they have to have documentation on this, because this is like, wait, what is input settings object reference? Maybe we should search that. Object reference, replicating objects, setting up inputs. See, I'm going to assume the bright blue links are the ones I haven't clicked on. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's much going on in the actual docs, because this is just showing me the editor thing, which I've already set up. And then this takes us to that. Okay, well, that's not helpful. What about this guy? This looks like a question. When was this posted? Okay, that was a few years back, so this is probably not relevant anymore. Because this guy's talking about make a custom widget in C++, which I know you don't need to do because they added it as a thing. And let's actually go back to this article for a moment, because these guys did it somehow. Selected key. What is that? That's an input code, which I've already got. Break input code. That's interesting how, maybe it's added action mappings that I don't know about. Maybe that's what it's doing. I don't know. It's either that or I'm applying and loading it wrong. Maybe I'm loading it wrong. That could easily be the case. Well, yeah, there's a bunch called tests. Let's open this up. Okay, nothing. Let's give it F key. Let's just give it something in here. Actually, for what that should do at least is let me oh, we can't do any. We can't compile that yet. All right. Well, let's figure this out. Oh, cool. There's some guys doing some dev in the chat. That's awesome. Hope that all goes well. To answer your question, F5, what is the shortcut for straighten nodes? Great question. If you just select some, like I'm gonna take this and align it to this edge. I'm gonna select them both, hold shift, and you can kind of use WASD to align them with shift. So if I press shift A, it aligns to the left, shift D, it aligns to the right, shift W, it aligns to the top, and shift S, it aligns to the bottom. And if you hold shift alt, it'll just center them sometimes, so that's cool. I gotta say, yeah, that's really handy, because I used to kind of right click and align them like this, which was a pain. But actually, if you do look, it actually does say them right there, which I don't know how I missed, but it does say them right here. So there you go. If you ever get lost, just actually look at what it says and you'll find it. So I don't know why I didn't realize that sooner, but I'm glad I did. I don't know, maybe it's too late for this sort of thing. I don't know, maybe I'm too sleepy. But I reckon I could get somewhere with this. Let's see how we do. Might switch up the tunes a bit, because I've been repeating these same two songs for God knows how long now. What we got? Maybe one of these. Let's try. Okay, what do we got? What can you do with action mappings? Can we get action? Get mapping by name. Oh, that's a. It will return an array. That's that's interesting. Because that means that each of these little things. So one of these is not. So it's like made up of these things. So let me just go and check what that says. So an action mapping and an action key mapping, I think, are two different things. Maybe. I don't know, maybe this will do it. No idea. Maybe I'm just gonna try this. I don't know what I'm doing. We'll try it. See if it works. So we're gonna maybe not insert, maybe add. And we wanna add get action, I don't know actually. Wait. We want to add something. Can we add this? Wait, what's that? What is that? It's a new item. Input action key mapping. And what is that? Make input action. Okay, what is this made of? Oh, okay. Well, I guess we have to break it into an input chord, and then we do this. Maybe, I think this is what I had earlier. Maybe I'm just going in circles. But I'm sort of just figuring out as I go, I guess. So, that's good enough. So we want to make a map thing out of this, and it's going to be named the actual thing itself. And we're going to, I don't know, plug that in. Let's just see what happens, I guess. And after that's done, we want to print. Get rid of that. I guess we just want to, like, I don't know, print. The action mapping name was assigned to the actual whatever this was. Yeah, okay, well, I don't know, this feels like something. Let's, oh, maybe not, maybe not. Oh, okay. Gotta redo this. I don't know why it's, oh, alright, well that worked. Input. Oh wait, I gotta hit apply. Why turn on the automatic thing back on? Alright, it was assigned to something. Okay, so it's not empty. Which is interesting. But it's not loading. Oh, I'm not plugged that. I didn't plug that in. Let's see what it says now. It still might say none, and if it doesn't want to be annoying. Of course. Assigned to none. Alright, so there's something we ain't doing right. Target action mapping. Maybe this I didn't fill in. No, I did. Action mapping is test. Why is it saying none? Why is that returning none? To name. I don't know. Plug it in again just for, I don't know, sanity's sake. None. Oh, that's fine. It's this. Sorry, I got it wrong way around. The actual, that part's doing okay. So it's, at least it's getting the right input name. So test was assigned to none, so it's this bloody thing. So it's returning a test input, It's setting it, but it's not doing anything. Maybe I'll just drag this in instead. I don't know, let's see what happens. Still none, alright. Excuse me 1 second. I have this weird thing. I have an extension cable running through these headphones, and when it comes loose, the speakers kind of go out of phase. So I'm going to quickly pop under my desk and plug that in again. You'll see my head pop up again in a minute. I'm just going to jiggle the wire. Oh, god damn it. Alright. I think I fixed it. Okay. Alright, what's going on? The joys of programming. Yeah, indeed. Oh, Jagger, thanks, dude, for that comment. I'm glad that you love the game. Like, I honestly didn't expect anyone to enjoy it yet, or at all. So that's really, it means a lot to hear you say that, dude. Hopefully it's, like, I know it's been a while since I've done an update on it. Unfortunately, there's this that I have to fix, and then there's some other issues too, which are preventing me from releasing a build. One of them being I can't actually compile, so that's fun. But yeah, I'm hopefully I think we're sort of nearing the end of this sprint, if you can call it that, and we'll have an update out sooner rather than later. I think we've hit the majority of the hurdle because I think that's evident from the fact that most of these are done and they work. So hopefully you can go full PC mode here and just, you know, play the game nicely like that, and we'll have some. I'm going to change up the HUD a bit as well before the next update, because the HUD's not great. I reckon I could do a bit more to it, and I could probably use some new widgets for it as well and have those work a bit more effectively. But yeah, the good news is once that's all done, I don't have to touch it like ever again, unless I want to change the graphics. But the functionality I won't have to ever touch until, I don't know, like the game would be able to, like, these features here would be shippable. That's sort of the aim. Am I being too perfectionist? Probably. But hey, if it gets done, it makes me happy. And then I can go back to doing some more fun stuff like the gameplay. I'm just figuring out what's going on with this. So action mapping, and then this thing. Can I break and just get the key, or maybe the key doesn't have a display name. I don't know. Maybe action? Let's try it. Maybe this has... I just want to see if it... I don't know. I'm just seeing what... I'm playing around with it. Okay, so it's getting an action mapping, but not a key. So, I'm led to believe that... Well, seeing as I've been adding to that array, I'm wondering what it's actually done here. So I go over to my input. Input. Where are you? Input. Alright, what has it done to my actual test? Okay, it hasn't done anything to it. Alright. Interesting. Oh yeah, for those wondering, if you hold right mouse, it just kind of does this zoom. This was like a remnant from when I had the guns in the game. I kind of left it in to test the FOV, because here's a cool thing about the FOV. If you shrink it down, it actually scales proportionally. So it doesn't set to an absolute value, so that's kind of cool. So it means if you are running this at a high FOV, the zoomed in will actually be slightly more zoomed out. So that's kind of cool. I tested it as well for the wall run as well, because the camera will actually zoom out and tilt when you run on walls, and it's proportional to the actual setting FOV instead of setting it to an absolute value. So you see it gets real zoomed out in this mode, but if I go back to console FOV over here, it'll still zoom out, but not by as much. It's proportional to the amount I set, so that's a cool little thing. I'll probably set... I could just press the reset button, and that'll reset it to the default, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's a cool little thing I thought I'd share. But why, oh why, is, I don't know, what's going on with this? Can I get, maybe I'm not doing this. Okay, well, let's get rid of these. Let's just start again from 0. So I've got this. All right. So what do we got? We got the input. I don't know if that's actually like assigning or not. Maybe. Actually, let's just plug this. Let's just test to see if we can save it as a string instead of actually. I just want to see if we can do that, because that would be amazing if we could. Let's see if it actually gets the name that we should. Yeah, because honestly, when I get stuck, I just break things down into like their simplest components possible, and that seems to lead me to a solution one way or another. So let's just make this bit work so it prints something and loads it, because that's kind of the important, and then we'll worry about actually mapping it later on. So let's see if we can actually get this. So all we want to do is essentially print it, and that's it. So I can get rid of these for the moment. I'll add them back later. Could probably drag these up here. Let's move these closer. Alright. Let's just test this and see if we can get this to work, and then I think it'll make things easier. Or at least that's the idea. To answer your question, Jagger, if the game ever gets to a point where there's a bunch of levels and stuff and it's super playable, will it be released on Steam? Excellent question. I'm hopeful that it will. That'd be really cool. As for whether it'll happen, again, I don't want to say anything that's preemptively or prematurely, because I don't know what'll happen, but Steam is one of my goals. That'd be excellent. I've been looking into the Epic Store as well. I know that it's still a new thing, and a lot of people aren't really a huge fan of the Epic Store because it doesn't have stuff like Steam does. And Steam's kind of the go-to. Like, I'm a Steam user myself for most of my games. But I'll have to do a bit of research on what'll end up being the final release platform. But Steam is definitely an aim that I'd like to try and shoot for. And if I don't get it on the mark, I'll get close to it. But yeah, the goal is, because at the moment, all of this stuff is kind of the boring back-end bit. So I know it doesn't look like it's going anywhere particularly fast at the present time. But I'm hopeful that once that back-end is solid, then I can start building from that foundation. So things like creating content and levels, that's kind of the thing you get to last normally in development. Like from the games, I haven't developed a lot of games, but from the ones I have developed, usually content is like, it takes the longest at times, depending on how much content you're putting in. But it tends to be the thing you get to last, because the first thing for me, at least, the big priority was getting the mechanic. Not even a level, I just wanted to get the mechanic to work. And then later I added in this level, then I added another level, and then I added these collectibles and checkpoints. And I don't know, that might actually just be it, but I want to make some more things and experiment a bit first before I decide that for certain. And then once I have decided it, we go to alpha phase, and that's when content happens. That's when we get levels, art, animations, effects, music, all that stuff. That's when that happens. As for how that'll happen, I kind of do everything anyway. So, like, I'm a musician, I'm a programmer, I'm an artist, 2D and 3D, I'm an animator as well, and I'm also a graphic designer, so I'm going to try to do the best of my ability in all of those. It sounds completely ridiculous, I'm aware of it. So, I'll see what kind of sacrifices I'll have to make when I get to that road. And I think that'll be really fun to get to, for you guys to watch through. And you can see me descend into madness, hopefully. But, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get to that, but I know from experience you got to build a good foundation before you get to that. So I know this isn't particularly the most fun bit to work on. I don't really enjoy this the most, but I do enjoy it because I know that when it's done, it's going to be so good. It's going to be amazing. and this will all work, and it'll be like one of the best experiences I could ever make, and that's kind of why I'm doing it. So yeah, I guess that's my sort of statement on that, I suppose. Yeah, if you don't build a good foundation, as Scopey puts it, you'll have Fallout 76. Fun fact, I think ever since, you could even say that about most Bethesda games actually, because Skyrim, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, Oblivion, Fallout 76, and perhaps even the new Elder Scrolls 6 are all built on the same foundation as the same engine as the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, which came out in 2003 or 2004. So they've been using that foundation for a long time, which puts me on edge a bit because I don't know. It's like, imagine working in Windows XP today for a game to be released on Windows 10 sort of thing, you know. Puts me on edge a bit. But I mean, they develop massive games. I doubt they'd want to change their entire framework for the sake of updating, because who knows, they probably have hundreds of people there that have specifically trained to use, I think they use components of Gamebryo, I believe, so they don't want to, like, they've got years of experience in it, so they're probably not going to just change engines on a whim. But that's a team. I'm one guy, so if I need to do stuff and change, I can, which is great. But it also means I have to do a lot of the groundwork, which is what this is. So let me turn on some things with the setting. I'm gonna see these little tick boxes. I'm gonna turn on these two, so it's gonna apply on construct and apply on value change, which is sort of what most of the settings do. It basically means it'll automatically assign itself, but it's still applying to none, which I'm concerned about. And that's not good. It's not good. I wonder, actually, if we can change this. I think this might be a smarter approach, actually. We'll do a bit of input stuff from this widget. So this is the widget selector, and we're gonna, I don't know, we're gonna try something out here. Let's see how we go. Because if I remember, again, I'm learning this, so this thing, test input, is made out of it breaks into these things. So it's made out of a key and a bunch of booleans. Which means, I don't know, let me think. What does that mean? It means, well, there was that other thing too. Make input key action mapping thing. So, input. Let's get one of these and break it. What is this made of? So this, actually, maybe I googled the documentation wrong. Let's see what the documentation says about this specific variable. I wonder. I don't know if it'll come up with anything, actually. Oh, that's a blog post. Alright, well, what is that made of? That's made of a key and a bunch of those. Which, wait a sec. Hold on, something ain't right. And then this is made of an input cord. So hey, maybe we don't want an input cord at all. Maybe we just want to go straight to this, because it's just made of a... Alright, let's set selected key. Let's go here. So that takes a cord. I guess that's like a combat... Okay. Make cord. Alright, what does that give us? Okay. Yeah, so these confuse me if you couldn't tell. Because it's like the same variable, but one of them has a fancy name thing at the top. Which is interesting. because like, yeah, then there's this, but I don't know which one I'm supposed to use for what. And Googling them has yielded nothing. Maybe, I don't know, let's try input chord. Oh, wait. Input chord, UE4. F input chord. Alright, well this is a very technical thing, but it gives us something. And what can we do with this? We can set it. Okay, well that's good to know. Set. Oh, maybe. Because okay, I don't know what I'm thinking, but I'm just gonna do something with this somehow. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have it in this graph. Alright, I think what I want to do is here, maybe? Maybe. No, wait. No, I think I want to do it from this one. So, action mapping, let's set that to, I don't know, what is this made of? Okay, we might be getting somewhere. So, alright, well let's just drag these in together. But the name. Why would I need that? Does this give us a name? Oh, it doesn't. Input action key. Alright. Why doesn't it let us put a name in here? I don't know. That's weird. Maybe that's just the name of the variable. I don't know. Could be. But I feel like we should be able to, I don't know. Well, what do I know? Let's make a variable for that though, just in case. Well, yeah. I feel like I don't know. Let's try. So, because I want to be able to set the name outside, because we'll probably need a new name for new input depending on what this is going to be used for. Because this is just the widget, and I don't want to have to make a new widget for each input mapping. So yeah. Well, so in theory, what this should do is should take the key that we put in and turn it into an action mapping and assign it a name, and well, that will do something, I guess. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it'll do something. I don't know what, but it will do something. And then what we could do with this now, I'm gonna get rid of this. Get action mapping Okay, so that should return the entire map. Get name break, and maybe we can return the name from here. I don't know. Let's try. Let's make sure it actually does have a name, and it doesn't at the moment. So we'll give it a name. We'll call it test. Huh, brilliant. And we'll give it a default value. All right. I might reorder those variables while I notice it, because it doesn't look good the way it is. So I'll drag that one on top. And so yeah, that looks a bit better. All right. Well, here goes nothing. None was assigned to none. Oh, brilliant. Test was assigned to none. Which means that's working. It's this thing again. Okay, well, there's something I missed here then. It's getting none. Which means it could not be saving right. Maybe it's because that variable was never being assigned. That's easily possible. Maybe that does need to be a key, after all. Because I won't bind it, I just want to have it print out a name, sort of thing, just so that I know it's saving and stuff. Key, well, I don't know, let's give that a... I feel like I tried this, but I can't remember at this point, so we'll just try it again. What am I looking for? Oh, to save settings. So we'll make this a key instead. And I don't know. I have no clue. We'll try it. So now, should let's... Alright, we can get rid of that. Which is good. So, F key. And then access mapping, break. And then we'll get the key from that, plug that in. All right, so maybe it'll actually save the key. Oh no, this is still screwing up. Make input chord. See how that goes. Still an error somewhere. Okay, all right. I don't know. Let's just see. Oh, okay, it's assigned to a key. It's assigned to F. All right, we're getting something. Now it's still assigned to... Okay, well, it's not applying correctly the first time. Which is not great. So I have to... we'll fix that later. Let's see if it... Okay, it still goes back to F. So it's not saving right. But I don't know. I kind of want to keep the stream a little shorter than my other ones this time, so we'll see. So for those who are developers stopping by to watch, thanks for joining in. Hopefully this is a nice break from your routine. And instead of suffering, you get to watch me suffer instead. So hope that's enjoyable. And I do agree with Eden. Winter is the best season. I love winter. I was born in winter. Winter's great. Chiaga, to answer your question, how did I come up with the name Project Feline? Alright, for those for those who are long-time watchers, and by long time I mean a month since I started doing streams, I'm terrible with names, and Project Feline was literally the first code name that came to my head. I actually don't even know if... I mean, I wasn't intending for it to be the final name, but it just may be, because it seems to be catching on. And it does kind of fit the aesthetic of the game, I think, because the whole project, because I name it Project whatever, that's just my code name convention. For example, I don't know, I tend to use like Fox Feline sort of names. Like my last project was Project Fox, this one's Project Feline. And yeah, so that's just sort of how I name things. And I chose Feline because of the main character design that I did. And if you see, yeah, she's like a half cat, half human. And I thought, alright, well yeah, Feline sounds kind of cool. And she's also very agile, like an actual feline, right? So she could like run on walls, which, I mean, cats can practically do that anyway, right? If you've ever seen a cat, you'll know they can basically do what she's doing. She can run on walls, she can kind of climb. She's very acrobatic, and I kind of thought, well, felines, cats are acrobatic as well. So maybe, I don't know, Project Feline, sure. It seems like a fitting name for the prototype, but I don't know, I guess even in terms of the aesthetic and the story that I got in my head, I haven't finalized it yet, but the kind of the unspoken sort of assumption that I had with this character is that she is an experiment of some kind. So she was at one point in time, because you gotta wonder, it's like how are you half of one species, half of another, unless it wasn't something natural. And it kind of has me thinking maybe this person with this specific kind of DNA or whatever was someone's project at some point in the story. So I don't know, it kind of has a cool ring to it, I guess. It may just stay until I find, if I come up with something cooler, then it'll supersede it. But until then, I guess it's just going to stay Project Feline. So that's a nice question, dude. But yeah. Oh, thanks to... I'm just reading your comment, Void. Oh, I'm glad you found my devlogs inspiring, dude. That's really great. That makes me really happy. That's awesome. Yeah, like, here's the thing, I don't know, there's something I think people don't really get about game development, is that it's really, really hard. Like, it's difficult. Like, you've watched me here for the, hell, I don't even know, with like 2 hours maybe we've been going. You've seen me, it's difficult. I don't know what I'm doing, no one knows what they're doing, but nonetheless, I love it. I wouldn't want to do anything else. And it can get really down when you, like I was at least, like, because this whole thing I've been working on since like February, March, and what is it? May. It's been a long time since I started this back-end system, and it started with wanting to just add this resolution drop-down mainly. And yeah, it hasn't been easy. It's been really hard. It's been really demotivating at times too, because like, only now it's starting to pick up pace with progress, but before last week, it was just really slow, not much was getting done. I would get low energy as well, because my sleep was just not great. I was getting a lot of sleep, but it was like, I just didn't have any energy throughout the day, you know? So it was hard to kind of get up and just go at it every day, but I tried to my best. And eventually, I don't know, I guess moods and whatever are kind of like the tide. They can be at low points and high points, and luckily I think I'm onto a high point, because I'm feeling, well, at the moment I'm a little sleepy, but today I felt pretty good. I got more done than I did last week in just today, so I feel pretty happy about it. And those aren't trivial. Like, if you're in that, for the developers watching now that are beating their heads against the wall with their own projects, and don't lie, I know you are. Everyone's banging their heads. No one's ever doing it perfectly. But if you are, you know, celebrate those little victories. Like, if you didn't get much done, you know, because you always know, you can feel it when you didn't get much done. But, you know, give yourself some credit for the little you did manage to do. Because if you don't give yourself any credit at all, in like 3 months down the road, you're going to be so depraved of validation and credit that you're not going to want to continue. And that's what happens to about 90% of the games I see, is that everyone, they get too downed by the lows of of how hard this can be. And of course, like, you know, it is that way. It's always going to be difficult. But if you don't appreciate the things you're doing right, even if it's a small list, it's only going to make it worse. And it's only going to make you less wanting and willing to finish, which that's what I found at least. So I try and celebrate those little things, like, I don't know, getting that slider to work that I had open earlier. It's a small thing, it's a bloody slider, but I got it working, and I'd never done it before, so I was pretty happy about that. And I don't know, if you're having trouble getting thrilled about it, live stream it, because then people are watching you. That's sort of why I do it, because you kind of already have to put on a show anyway, because no one's going to want to sit here and watch me just be sad. So you kind of have to be happy, and then you kind of fall for it, which is great. Like, I'm actually feeling pretty happy right now. And it just becomes genuine sort of thing. So anyway, that was a huge tangent. What am I doing? I've just been scrolling around this for a while. Well, hey, at least it's returning a key. Well, that's good. So there's a little victory that you might want to celebrate. So it's getting something right, except... there's always the except. Oh, wait a sec. Maybe it is actually working. Let's exit and come back. Oh, it is? Okay, it is working. Hallelujah. I have no idea what I did just then, but it's not applying the first time, which isn't good. We'll need to fix that, but I'll do that later. Maybe let's try spacebar. If I hit the apply button, it might apply instant. Okay, so it's just the auto applying I need to fix, I think. Because you'll notice, yeah, it goes back to spacebar, but I hit something and press apply and then go back, it works. So it's just I had that problem with the drop down earlier, so I'll fix that later. But now we gotta figure out, like, what did I map that to? What did I map that to? That was S. So what should happen, I have that little controller. I have a thing that controls the player, and I want to get that open for you guys. Here. So I had a little event I made so that when test is pressed, it prints the string, which is I don't think it's doing at the moment, which isn't good. So, and that might be because I haven't actually mapped the input. That could easily be why. But I want to, it's not even doing it anyway, like without it. So yeah, that's not good. But let's look at input action mappings. Okay, so test has a mapping, so when I hit F, it should just do that thing, right? But I don't know why it ain't doing it. Kind of peculiar. Unless... actually, honestly don't know, because maybe I need to, I don't know, I'll try adding this to the player and see what happens. So I'm going to add that to the character blueprint. So, where is she? I think it's one of these, actually. Player pawn. Okay, so I'm going to add it. These are the other inputs I have. I'm going to add it here and see if it, maybe it's just a glitch with the... Alright, it's still not getting it. Well, that's an issue. Oh, well, I can reset it. That works. Resetting it works. But if I hit F, nothing happens. And I'm... Oh, it's because I don't have it printing to anything. So I can probably get rid of it here now, actually. Yeah, I make a lot of silly mistakes like that. That's funny. So that's why. God. Oh, hey, let's give it a go. And my screen just went to sleep. Let me get that. Yeah, so Eden, if you're struggling with UI, you might be in luck, because I'm kind of thinking I might release this on the Epic Store, because I've already put months into this, and I thought, hey, maybe this will be handy for other people. So this might be an option you might consider, perhaps, when it's finished. You can kind of see what it's doing already. It's basically going to be your standard PC settings. So yeah, who knows? Maybe it could be an option if I decide to release it. Alright, so, okay, so F works, that's great. So now, I want to test this with another input. S. Oh. What did I just touch? I don't know. Alright, so... Hey, maybe this... Hey, I think the system's working. Oh, no, it isn't. Test was assigned... Let's assign this to another key that I'm not going to hit by accident, so B. So if I hit B, it should... Okay, well, it doesn't do it. Alright, so we've gotten somewhere with it. That's good. The next challenge... So the variable itself is applying and saving mostly correct, which is great. So see there, now it shows up B. So let me backtrack for a sec. Well, I'll show you what we ended up doing so far for those that are joining and for those that weren't quite following, because it's hard to follow. I honestly don't know what I'm doing with half this. So let's break it down. So we have our game, got a pause menu, settings, input. This is that test setting we were doing. And it's made up of a few things. It's got the actual setting display, which has the label, and then it has the actual input capture thing, which is what the other tab of stuff is. Now, it lets us capture an input, and the actual setting will save that input to a variable, and vice versa. It'll load it and save it. So you can see when the default value I think was F. So if I go back, so now that widget's been destroyed, and I'll prove it to you. I'll go back to the main menu, different scene. And you see it shows up F as input test, which is good. So now if I change it to B, I press apply, go back, open a different level completely, go settings, input, it shows B. So that's good. It's storing the variable key and loading it, which is awesome. The only thing we need to do is actually tell it to map to an input binding in that input manager thing. That's the only challenge. Now, I have a feeling, because I know I've been going for a little while now. Can someone, I don't know, have the tab open. Could someone check how long or so we've been going roughly? I think I started streaming about 8. I'm actually not too sure. Let's see when I made that post. I made a post. Okay, that was at 9:30ish. So it's been maybe 2 hours. That's pretty good actually, because I tend to go on too long. But I have a feeling in the next 20 minutes or so, I actually might be able to get it. Just by that other tutorial we had, because I think we just got to do some of this stuff in it. Well, yeah, I don't want to preemptively say it should work, because it never does when I say that, but hey, we'll give it a go and see where we get. And if we don't finish it this time, it'll get finished before the next update. But if you guys want to see more frequent streams, because I tend to do them once a week or once every 2 weeks, but if you guys want to see them more frequently, let me know in the chat. And if you want to see some different sorts of things, because I also do art and graphic design and this stuff and music as well. So I'm not quite sure exactly what everyone's interested in seeing. I know a lot of you want to see the blueprint stuff, but if there's any other suggestions about stuff I should stream, let me know in the chat. I'd love to know your thoughts. I haven't done an art stream in a while, so I'd like to do one of those again soon. Or maybe something completely new. I don't know. So if you have any ideas, I'm welcome to them. In the meantime, let's see if we can solve this little puzzle we got. So, I think this is where these little nodes here come in. So we want to get input settings, and we want to get action mapping by name, and we'll get this boy, and we'll take, we'll just copy what that graph had, because I'm going to assume works to a degree. Now these nodes look messy. I'm gonna clean them up when I think I've got something. And then for each of these, let's just, I don't know, let's just try removing these bindings and seeing what happens. Now that we've actually got something that is saved and is loading right, mostly, let's see how we can fare with that. Now it's looking for, okay, we need those user settings. Remove action mapping. Might put on something a bit less intense on the music. I'm feeling like something cheery because I'm feeling happy that I got that working. And this is what I'm talking about when I was talking earlier about celebrating. So I'm gonna give myself a little celebration and put on a song that sounds kind of cool. I haven't decided what it is yet. These are pretty nice. I don't know if anyone here's a Thropids listener, but he does some chill stuff. So I might put on one of his little tracks. And for those that want to, you know, it's like, okay, I want to reward myself, but how do I do it? One thing that worked for me, I like burgers, like a lot. I really love burgers. So if I do something I think's cool, I go and eat a burger. And I'm filthy, I'll go to McDonald's even. Yes, I'm that cheap, but I like it. And if that's what drives your boat as a reward, then please do it, because you know what that means. It means your brain's gonna do that. You know, I don't know, the thing where it's you train the brain to expect reward after thing. I don't know. You'll get incentivized to do it. That's what I'm trying to say, and it'll be cool if you reward yourself. So that's sort of iterating on what I was talking about earlier, and by earlier, I don't know, it might have been 40 minutes ago at this rate. I lose track of time very easily, if it wasn't already clear. Let me just, okay. So, we need to add action mapping. Let me just check the chat, see if you guys had any suggestions for any other stream stuff I could try doing. 2 hours? Okay, so yeah, that sounds about right. It's been about 2 hours. Cool. Oh, a poll. Actually, can I make a poll in the chat? I got no idea. That's a good idea. I have no idea how to make... Okay, yeah, I don't know how to make polls. I'll make one on my YouTube community thing or the Discord, which if you haven't joined the Discord, there's a link in the description which you should click on, because I'm there, and you can just go at me, hey, how's development? I'll be like, yeah, it's good, bro, and you can just chill, and that's cool. And you can share your stuff there too, because I have all these channels for people to share stuff, and I look at it sometimes. And sometimes I see some cool stuff, and I give you one of these, because if you get one of these from me, it means I like it. Anyway, okay, so I've done a little something different. So where it says make action mapping, I think that is already an action mapping. So I should just be able to, yeah. All right, well, let's see how that goes. So the way I know it works is if I hit F. And it comes up with that. But if I hit another key that I bound it, so if I rebind it to another key, and if I press that key and it comes up with that message, then I know it works. So let's give it a go. And it's currently mapped to B, which means we're probably not off to a great start. Oh, hey, it actually worked. And if I hit F, it doesn't work. Oh, hey, I think we actually got it working. Holy crap. Awesome. Well, hey, well, it doesn't look like anything much, but it's printing a set of text. You know, not impressive, but hey, we got it working. Let's see if it actually Oh, cool. So now if I press B, it'll say test activated with B. Sweet. And let's change that to something else. Holy shit! I think I got it working for once. Oh, now it's activated with A, and it won't react to B anymore. Awesome. All right. Well, yeah. I think that's it. I want to try this with, let's clean these nodes up, actually. That'd be a great idea. But I get the feeling, though, that we want to use an input chord and not a key. That's just a hunch I have, but I don't know how that would work, because I think that's what I tried doing earlier. But I think it didn't work, because I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe I have more of an idea what I'm doing now. I don't know. But I get an itching feeling we should be using input chords, because then what that would let us do in theory is if we wanted to have a binding specifically mapped to Shift A instead of just A. Actually, wait a minute. It actually does map. Huh. All right. Well, let's Hey. Well, what do you know? Because if I press A, it doesn't do anything, but if I press Shift A, it does. All right. Well, maybe I don't need that at all. Let's try it again. Oh, but it doesn't. See, yeah, you see the problem? It won't save it if I... Okay, that's interesting. Very interesting. So it can capture, like, combined inputs, which is cool. So I can press Control F and apply. But if I go back, it says F. And it'll load that. So that's... Okay. Interesting. Maybe I do. Yeah, okay, so that might be because we aren't using a chord. I think that's what it's called. So a chord is basically a key plus some of these booleans, which might come in handy. So I'm going to see if we can change it to be that way instead. Because then what that means, if we go over to our settings, see how there's what is it? Yeah, see how there's test input F. It only gives us the key, not if we want it to be Shift F or whatever. So that could be why. So let's see if we can get that, and I think we might just call it at that point. So that will have us, we won't have to break that into an action mapping, I think, at least. But gotta be careful because I need that. So let's try changing that variable first to a chord and see where we go, because we'll probably get a bunch of errors pop up and we'll fix them. All right, so we can put that in there. Right, and if it doesn't work, then I know that I'll go back to using just key instead of chord. And then, if this works how I expect it, I'll just need to change that the auto apply to actually work, because it won't work the first time, but if you press it again, it'll work, and I had that issue with the other settings. So if I can fix that, it means all I have to do is use this and copy and paste it for every input and just change this to the input of whatever. So I change that to jump, for example, or a slide or whatever. And then that'll be the input settings done. And then I might add a few other things like the mouse sensitivity, invert mouse, which is pretty easy to do, because I've already got the sliders for that already, so that should be no problem. And who knows, by next week even, if I work fast enough, we might have the next update. Maybe. I don't want to make any promises, but I reckon at the rate we're going, it could be feasible. So that makes me excited. Because yeah, God, it's been a while since the last Feline build, and I'm sure you guys all want one. I know I want one. And yeah, what I'm really enthusiastic for is the point where it's like, let me just think for a moment. Yeah, it's sort of like the point where I can just have the gameplay and the back end, and it's all kind of ready to be made and it's ready to be produced. That's where I want to get it. That's like my next big milestone, is where can I get it to the point where literally all there is to do left is the production stuff. So it's making the animations and the art and the story and all of that, knowing that the actual game without the fancy bells and whistles is pretty fun. That's the priority mainly. So that's what I've been focusing on since I started this. So yeah, that's exciting. Now, this is where things might get a little tricky. So I'm gonna try and make chord, because I think I'd have to do, yeah, okay. I think I know more about what I'm doing now than I did an hour ago, which is great. And yeah, for those developers there watching with me, yeah, you're gonna get moments like that, like you've seen with me, and it's kind of like, now I know a bit more about what I'm doing than I did earlier, and that's a win. That's great. Because to put it bluntly, it means you're slightly less stupid now, like myself, which is awesome. To put it more sugar-coated, it means you've learned and grown. So, well, yeah. So, I don't know. What time is it? Oh, it's almost 12. I don't know. I shouldn't be this sleepy by now, but I guess this is Sleepy Ray talking. Haven't been Sleepy Ray in a while. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay. All right. Well, now this thing. Let's see what I can do. So that's a chord. I gotta turn it into a. Well, I could probably get rid of this print now because we know that it works, and I can just kind of. I don't think I'll need to use that now. So I was wondering, can I get rid of that and just use this variable? I wonder, because I don't want to clutter my things up too much. Can I make that private? Yeah, because I like hiding my variables. Because if I don't know how to use each one of them, I'll just hide the ones that I know might be problematic. And then if I do need them, I'll go and unhide them. Anyway, so what that should let us do... Actually, yeah, because that's a chord structure. Because I don't like this little thing here. It's something that, because I want to use this blue line, because I know that's what I use for the other ones, and I'm wondering if, what I am wondering, I don't know what I'm wondering. Actually, now I'm wondering something else. I wonder, this test input thing here, can I think I've already tried this, but I want to see. Input action key mapping. I wonder what that... I just want to check what that gave me. Alright, and... Hold up. Maybe that is actually what we want instead. Because you see how that's just an input, right? But if we go input key mapping, see how it gives us these on the side, and if we go input chord, it kind of gives us the same thing, but it's like a little different. That's got me curious, because hey, what if we don't actually need to pass it through a chord at all? So this is the part where like the blueprint works, and this is just where I'm just cleaning things. And yeah, I know it works, but it's like, can we get it to be more efficient? That's the question I always ask myself. Is it too early to ask that? I don't know, maybe, but I like sort of nipping it in the butt early so that I know that when I'm finished with the task, it's done as best as I could, and I don't have to go back later and clean things up. I'm just gonna check out the chat, see what you guys had to say through that. Ooh, we got some Hungry Jacks fans in the chat talking about fast food. It's funny, I actually don't go to Hungry Jacks that much. I don't know, I have a lot of McDonald's and KFCs near me, so it's like, Hungry Jacks is cool because it's like that one I go to where it's like, oh, I haven't been to this one in ages and I'm kind of tired of the other one, so I'll go there. But I think I haven't picked my favorite food from Hungry Jacks because I always end up with something I didn't expect that tastes kind of cheap. So maybe there's some premium menu I don't know about. I don't know, because I always get the what is it called? The gourmet creations from McDonald's, because those are pretty cool. So maybe I haven't found the equivalent at Hungry Jack's yet. But then when it comes to KFC, it's all just like, there's no premium really. It's just all just fried chicken. And I love my fried chicken, so I don't have a high standard when it comes to KFC, but I like it. As for which is my favorite, I don't know. But it looks like Eden here is a Hungry Jack's fan. But yeah, for those in America, Hungry Jack's is the Australian Burger King. Yeah, I don't know why they rebranded it, but I kind of think the Burger King logo looks cooler myself as an Australian, but that's what they decided to do. The chips, I will say they are pretty good. I haven't had them often, but from what I remember, they actually do cook them. Like the chips I hate the most are the KFC chips, because they don't bloody cook them. Like, they barely cook them, and they taste soggy. I don't like the KFC chips. Hungry Jack's chips are pretty good. McDonald's chips, I like them as well. They're pretty nice. Oh, it's because someone already had the Burger King trademark. Interesting. I had no idea. I wonder what, because there's only one Burger King. There can only be one Burger King. Maybe they should have fought over who was the king. That would have been cool. Fight to the death. Like, kind of like in Black Panther when they choose a new ruler. They have to like duel it out. I would like to see that in court. That'd be pretty epic. God, what am I saying? Anyway, back to the input. I wanted to see if I could use an input action mapping variable instead, because it seems to me like a better choice, seeing as that's got all the stuff we want, and we're going to be kind of using that directly anyway. And we can make it into an array if we want, I think, which gives us a bunch of keys we can use, which looks exactly the same as the input action mapper. Like, yeah, that looks like the same kind of variable. So let's try and use that instead, because it looks closer to what we want. I won't make it an array yet. I'd like to. I feel like we will need to at some point, because I'd like to have multiple keys mapped to one action, but we'll get to that later. For the moment, we'll just try one at a time. So let's see how we go with that, and then when I feel super hungry, I'll call it a night. Alright, so I should be able to just plug that straight in, which I think I was already doing earlier. Maybe. Don't know, but whatever. So can I wonder, make this? Okay, so what does that give me? Okay, that gives me a bit more options than that, which is excellent. And I could get rid of this maybe. All right, bear with me here. Just reading some funny stories you guys have about fast food. Burger Queen. That sounds pretty cool. But yeah, honestly, now that you guys are talking up these not KFC, Hungry Jack's chips, I actually want to eat more Hungry Jack's chips, because I have a very vivid memory of what they taste like, because I don't have it very often. But God, that might be a cool thing. Hey, that might be the 20k special. Who knows? That'd actually be pretty sick. Because from what I remember, they are pretty nice, and they're thin as well. I like my chips thin and crispy. Now, I'm gonna have to modify the loading for this setting a bit. Oh, well, that's interesting. It's a key. That's a key. Oh, that's a core. I don't know why they must. I feel like there's probably a better way to do this, what I'm doing right now. Maybe. If you guys know of one, leave it in the chat, but it looks like it looks tedious. I don't like what this is, but I think that's what you gotta do, it looks like. Which is okay. And we do want to initialize that. From initialize. I'm gonna have to space these out a little bit, I think, as well. Yeah, for those that have been sticking around, thanks so much for tuning in. It's good to get to hang out with you boys and just dev and just chat. And I actually kind of wondered, should I just do a stream where I'm just chatting? Because if you couldn't tell from the last 2 hours we've been here, I'm really chatty. I talk a lot. So yeah, that might be a cool stream idea, maybe. Or a video idea even, because I'd like to do a video at some point talking about some of the not game dev, like it's stuff that has to do with game dev, but it's like not the game dev part, it's like the mindset stuff that a lot of people seem to be asking about today, with how I stay motivated and all that. Because I think that'd be a cool topic maybe someday. But I kind of feel like I don't know enough to do that kind of thing at the same time. So I don't know. Maybe I know something. Maybe I don't. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's a cool video idea. Maybe I have something of use. Story time. Yeah, that'd actually be cool. I like telling stories. Actually, that ain't a bad idea, because I remember I actually do have a voice channel on my Discord that, like, I don't think anyone has ever used ever. I just put it in because most Discords have at least one voice channel, so I don't know, that might be fun. I don't know how many people you can have in one Discord chat though. I don't know, maybe they've got rid of the limit, I don't know. But that'd be fun. That'd be pretty fun. I could tell you, I don't know, some weird story, like, I don't know, the time took me 3 years to beat Sonic 06. That happened, by the way. Actually, yeah, well, that was my first video game, for those that haven't seen some of my other videos. I have a lot of inspiration from Sonic, because my first game was Sonic 06, and I know it's the bad one. It's the really bad one, but I thought it was absolutely magical. Save for that last scene at the end, maybe. And you'll know what I'm talking about. Things get pretty weird at the end of Sonic 06. But I still enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I thought it'd be... Actually, there's two teams I've heard of right now. Separate teams, both remaking Sonic 06 in Unity for the PC. And that's pretty cool. Like, they're both doing it right now, and it's two separate teams. And that's just... Seems like a lot of people in that community want Sonic 06 remade, which is interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. Sonic 06 was a weird game. Alright, let me think. There was something I gotta do here. I think I should be able to just plug this bad boy. Ah, yes. When you get that little green tick, that's like absolute joy to me. That like, oh, it feels so good. Because then you release the mouse and then it just plugs, and it's just like, oh yeah, it works. And it's just, I'm overreacting way too much, but I think it's awesome. It is bloody cool. And if you think it's not, then it's, yeah, you're missing out on the joys in life, my dude. Alright. I don't know. I kind of lost track of what I was doing there, but let's see how it's working currently. It says unassigned, which doesn't give me hope, but it seems to be loading, which is good. Except, we have a little. Okay, test action is being activated. That's good. But it's only being activated... Oh no, it is being... Okay, awesome. Let me I didn't see it getting printed, so let me try and relaunch it. And double check. Okay, well, I think that's it. I think that's actually it. Oh my god. I think we just got a test input setting working. I don't believe this. Let me try it. There's gotta be some way to break this, you know? And of course, yeah, there's that little problem where it doesn't apply the first time. That's not good. But apart from that one little problem, I think it actually kind of works, like, properly. Which I wish I could say a lot more often. There's a little thing here we might want to click. Let me actually check the input settings, because I'm not actually sure if that actually adds or not to the actual list of action maps. It does not, which is interesting. But I feel like if there should be something plugged in here, because you want to set the default input name to be F key. Oh yeah, because I didn't set a default, so that's probably something we should do. And then, How did I get it to work without using action name? That's a mystery. I guess it's one of those things, you know, where it's like, it works, but it shouldn't. And I don't understand why. But it does, so that's cool. Can I get name? Get action mapping name. We should probably use that. And I might move that back. This is not looking... The only issue now is just the lines don't look nice. Yeah. So let's... I don't know. We could probably space this out a bit, I reckon. Maybe? Stretching... I know I'm stretching it heaps here, but... should be okay. Actually, no, we could probably move that back here. Maybe. No. Alright. How do I make this look prettier? And, well, when I say prettier, I mean, how do I have it so that if another human being reads this, they know exactly what's going down and they love me for it? Because isn't that the best feeling, where it's like, someone looks at your code and they go, aha, I get what you're doing? Because that's a good feeling. I like that. What I don't like is when people look at my code and they don't say anything, they just kind of squint at it and go like, you know, that's not a good feeling. That's a bad feeling. So that's what I want to avoid. I don't know. Yeah, alright. I don't know. I feel like we could fit that in a better spot, but it should be okay, I think. I might check on... I don't know. I have a weird... There's days where I know exactly what I feel in the mood for listening to, and there's some days where I'm just not sure at all, and this is one of those days. What do I don't know. I feel like putting something on for the last however many minutes this will go on for. I'm gonna put on this album up here, which I was listening to earlier. Yeah, I mean, blueprints generally, yeah, they are kind of tricky. But if you put this in front of someone that can read some basic blueprints and they look at this and they go, okay, yeah, I see I can follow the lines and I see where it's going. You know, I don't know. It's difficult, but despite that, I like to make it as easy to read as I can, despite the limitations of these graphs. Although I will say one thing, it makes it a little difficult, is that I would say maybe it's just the style of these things, because a lot of them have these gloss gradients on them, which kind of, you know, if you're familiar with web design, you tend to not want to use gradients, and that's mainly for optimization purposes. But I mean, I suppose in this context it's fine. But still, like if you look at it from a distance, there's lots of shiny gradients going on. And I mean, yeah, this interface was made around the time Windows 7 was a thing, so I'd imagine it looks pretty in style for that time. But I feel like if you had things like if this set whatever was just blue, like that shade of blue, like as the fill, I reckon it'd look a bit more readable. But that's just my opinion. And who knows? You know, maybe if you look at it from a distance, whatever, it might be slightly easy to read. But they still look good, I think, regardless. They're pretty nice. I've seen much worse. Like imagine if instead of the shiny gloss, it had like a, I don't know, like a Windows 98 aesthetic. Actually, that'd be kind of cool, but it'd be very dated. But yeah, it might be actually interesting. I don't know. I'm tired. I'm just talking whatever at the moment. But yeah, I think we almost got it. I just want to figure out that this is... Because the only concern I have is that the setting here works as it does, and I don't think it should. And I think what's going to happen is if I try adding 2 input settings, it's not going to work, and it's going to override the same input because this action name wasn't filled. So I want to make sure I'm covered in that regard. So I think I just needed to plug that in there, and then I think we are good, maybe. But I want to make it neat. And they don't make this easy. There's literally no way I could make this that neat, which upsets me greatly. If you couldn't tell by my monotone demeanor at the moment. Oh no, maybe we put this under? That might be a bit... Yeah, okay, that looks a bit better. Looks a little more balanced. Move it a little lower so it's not scraping that little thing. And then I move this. I think, yeah, this looks decent. That's good. All right, well, let's see if that still works. And then if it does, it means it should pretty much be good to go for being used in anything. Okay, so G works to activate that print. And let's change that to spacebar. Spacebar will work, except my character will no longer jump, which is very interesting. Maybe it's because I have overwritten it. So let's try J instead. Okay, now my character can jump. All right, well that's interesting to know. Cool. I think that works the way it's meant to. So there's, I don't know, should I test another input or should I call it a day? I don't know. What's the time? I think it's like 12:15. Maybe I'll call it this time because the minute I start to try and implement this, that's when it goes to like 1 AM or whatever. But I'm really confident that this will work, and I'm also really tempted that I could get it first try. But that never happens though, does it? I don't know. Maybe let's get those comment bubbles in while I have time to think about my decision. So yeah, this is where I go and add the comments. And there's mainly two. It's just load and apply. Pretty simple. I tend to comment based on if they're part of an event. And I tend to space them accordingly. Alright. You know what? Let's try and make another one in like 5 minutes. And just so I show you how I end up actually making the rest of these settings into a thing. So this is a test one, and it'll load this value called test, and it assigns a value called test. So it's like very arbitrary, but let's try and remap something a bit more crucial to the gameplay. For example, jumping, like that's a pretty standard one. Or maybe just melee, because yeah, let's do, I don't know, one of those. Let's try it and see, so you guys can see how I actually have made all my settings once I have the framework sorted. So now that we've got that, let's make a copy of this. So that is in my settings folder, and here's all the settings in the entire menu. So what was it called? It was called test input. So let's make a copy of that, and we'll call this input jump. And let's open it. We'll give it a new label. We'll call this jump. And we might be able to give it a default. So we'll call it like, I don't know, default. Oh wait, no, what do I want to call it? Mapping name is jump. And then we'll call it space bar. Cool. Alright. Now, it's not going to do anything yet, but if we go into the graph and we only need to change a few variables, I think, at this rate. So, I'm going to take this out, put it over here, and I'll add the comment bubbles in again later. And, oh, there's another thing. Alright, so, watch this. So what I'm going to do here is just basically switch it out for another variable, but I need to make one, don't I? So I'm gonna go and make jump. I've made that an array. I'm gonna make that singular for the sake of example, and I'll do arrays and another time maybe when I'm absolutely sure this works the way it needs to. So that'll be that'll be a next challenge. I might stream it. I don't know. Depends on time. But the challenge will be, how do I get an input and have an array so that you can have multiple keys assigned to one action? I don't know. We'll try that next time maybe. But this time let's try one input. And we want to get... Should be able to get jump. There we go. So get jumps. That's a variable I just changed up in that other file. And should be able to straighten that a little. And we can move that a little closer. We can move... Yeah, okay, so that's the loading. So I just had to change that one variable mainly. And then here's this. Now we're gonna change a few things. So we'll change the... Instead of set test, we'll go set jump. Because they're just changing a different variable now. But I do this one setting by setting because each setting, you know, isn't always an input setting, if that makes sense. Because you can have it's basically to be able to give more variety to what kind of setting you can have. So anyway, let's give it a default value. And let's set this as well. So yeah, so for those that remember me explaining it earlier, the top root is the default. So if it detects that we want to apply default, it'll apply spacebar as the action mapping to jump. And if it's not, it'll set whatever the value of the input key selector is, which is what is shown on screen. And you can already see where this might be going. And then, once that's in, all we need to do is change this from test input to jump. And we plug that in there. And I think that's all we gotta do, more or less. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's all we gotta do to it. So I'm gonna put the comment bubble back on. I always put it on last so I don't have to readjust the size, because it's just, when you select a group, it'll automatically size the comment box depending on what you've got. So that's just, I don't know, it's a habit of mine. So now that we've got all that, let's drag it in our menu and see what happens. So if I go to, I gotta go out of here to my menus folder. Oh, I think I should, yeah, I've got it open somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So, and again, this is the bit I get really proud of, because this is where you see how simple it is to use, right? So imagine you get this, I might put this on the marketplace at some point, maybe, but imagine that, like, you get it right, you got the asset, and you want to make your own menu without having to do everything I'm doing. So you import it in your project, and you get maybe this to work with, and you maybe, let's say you want to add a setting to it, like I'm about to do, right? Let's go to our input list. So now we've got that test one, but we want to add a new one. So let's type in jump, and hey, check it out. It's our widget we had just made, setting jump. Let's drag that in to this, and whoa, it just shows up there. That's pretty cool. Let's compile, save it, pause, settings, input, and look, there it is. And hey, it's already got a mapping. Actually, I didn't expect that to, whoa, hey, there you go. It's mapped to spacebar. Let's remap jump to B. All right, so, oh, well, that didn't work. That did not work at all. But that'll be for next time, maybe. Actually, oh, well, it didn't save. Let's apply the shit out of that. Okay, well, that's interesting. I'm actually curious why that's not working. But yeah, imagine if it did work. You just have to drag and drop the setting in, and then boom. It's like, you don't have to touch it. And that's what I'm working towards. So it works for the settings I did previously. It's just this one's bugging up, and I want to figure out why. I must have done something. Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't plug that in. One bloody execute pin. That was literally all it took. All right, well, let's try again, and then maybe, who knows, it might work. So, settings, input. Let's change this to B. Apply, back. Okay, spacebar, I'm pressing it, does nothing. B, oh, hell yeah. All right, well, we've got an input mapping. All right, then what was the other input we had? Because I want to make sure it doesn't override the other one. So J. So J should now print a message. and J does. And let's remap J to something else and see if it still works. Let's remap that to R. Okay, print R, and then B will still jump. Oh, yes, it works. Hell yeah. So all that means is that I gotta just make a bunch of those for each input action, and we are in business. And that is how you make custom inputs in Unreal. Wow, I didn't think that would work, but hey, we got it. Let's see if we can hit reset, and cool, so it sets it to F and spacebar. F prints, space jumps. Awesome, and it resets to the defaults as well, even better. The only issue is that little it's not the setting, but it's that little input thing, majig. Let me try it. Maybe I might be able to fix it, I don't know. I don't want to push my luck here, but I get a feeling, because I'm feeling lucky, it's this that's not acting right. That's from initialize. Something ain't going right there. So, because it's not applying it first, which isn't good. Which means, or maybe it is part of, I don't know. I don't know why it's happening, but I'm curious to see why. But I feel like I'd have to just fiddle around with it, and then it'll have it so it automatically applies, so that I don't have to click apply down here every time. So at the moment, I have to like do it twice for it to work, which isn't good. So I want to just be able to press input once and have that work, you know? So I had that issue with the other settings, and I feel like, because I've already had that issue, it should be so easy to fix, because then you guys get to see it working as it should completely, which would be awesome. But I'm going to give myself like 2 minutes here to see if I can figure out the problem. And if I don't figure out, it'll be for next time. But yeah, well, we got it working. That's pretty cool. To answer your question, X-Drone, yes, this is completely blueprints entirely. Because I am a designer artist, not much of a programmer myself, but I kind of get to be with these things, so yeah. Of course, everyone will tell you C++ is infinitely more powerful, and I agree, but likewise it is infinitely more complex and hard to learn. And if you're like me, and you know, you do want to learn it, but you want to save time, there's this option that exists. So that's cool for people like us. But yeah, everyone's always, I think I mentioned in the last stream, there's these guys I like to call the programming warriors, or the programming guardians, or whatever. And it's these guys that most of you probably have met someone like this, and they'll basically shit on any new development in programming and claim that old-fashioned stuff's better, which, you know, they aren't always wrong. Sometimes, yes, doing things in assembly will give you infinitely more control, but it's not necessarily efficient, right? So I met a lot of people like this. I think I had like a little rant about it in the last stream. But yeah, everyone just does whatever, you know? As long as the people that make that argument saying that it's not real programming, whatever, as long as they're happy making a game, then that's fine, whatever. But most of the people I know, they aren't making games. They're just sitting and pointing at other people, and that's what I have a problem with, really. It's not the fact that they prefer C++ or anything. It's the fact that they're literally just going out of their way to shit on people using blueprints. And it's like, that accomplishes absolutely nothing, in my opinion. So, but yeah, everyone's each to their own sort of thing. So I'm not going to go out and say that it's better than C++, because I know it isn't. But it's better for time efficiency for people that don't have a traditional programming education or background. That's what I will say. What was I doing? I was going to fix that thing. Sorry, got a bit sidetracked there. Blueprints isn't coding. Well, here's the funny thing to top it all off. People who normally say, oh, hold on. My laptop just came up with one of those Windows update prompts. God, I haven't gotten those in ages. Anyway. Yeah, a lot of people that tell me that, oh, Blueprints is real programming. Most of them use Unity. And that's not real programming either, if you know programming. You know what is programming? You see, let me show you real programming. I'm not a real programmer, but and I know what real programming is. And I know that I'm not a real programmer. But like, you see this snow that says append, and it takes 2 strings and returns a value? I didn't make that node. Someone had to make that. Someone working up at Epic Games, working on this engine, had to make that node for me to use. I think those people are the programmers, not me. I'm just scripting them and putting them together. But the thing is, Unity is more or less exactly the same. Like if you have Unity people in the audience, if you've ever used void update or mono behavior, which every script in Unity is built on, then you're not a real programmer, sorry, because you didn't make those. Someone else made mono behavior. An engineer at Unity made mono behavior, and an engineer at Unity made void update. So unless you're going to go out and make your own engine, which you could do, not always a smart idea, but if that's what you care about, then go do that. Then come to me and then go at me for not being a real programmer, and sure, whatever. But yeah, most people I've met are using Unity mostly. And because they see it as text, they see as blueprints as inferior because it's not in a text editor. Even though on the surface, like in terms of level, it's exactly the same. Like variables, functions, like it's same level stuff really. Like you could write this in C# in Unity the same way, basically. So yeah, and this look, I'm not a real programmer, and that's why I know that this isn't programming. Because if it was, then even if I was using Unity, I'd be a real programmer, which I'm not. So yeah, if you ever have, I'm sure heaps of you guys have met those sorts of people, and if you're dealing with those people, you can tell them that, and that'll, or you can just tell them to shut up and go make something. That'll work too. Except, yeah, I don't know. It should. That's what they should be doing. Anyway, I said I was going to finish soon, so let's try and fix that little hiccup. So I'm going to close some of these because I don't need all of these open anymore. I will need, what will I need? I might need these two. Maybe. Actually, no, I won't need this one open. I'll need my, I'll get my slider open because I had this issue with my slider where it had the exact same problem where I would set it and it wouldn't do anything, and then if I set it again, it then would do something. So it's like, I don't know, it's weird. But let's have a look at that slider and see how I managed it, because I don't remember. So there's a few things going on. Let's check the functions. All right, so none of these are relevant except maybe for set value. That might have a clue. I don't know. Let's, I feel like we already did that. Yeah, we already have an equivalent where it sets the initialize thing, which is what we need. What we don't, something we must not be doing right though. But it's basically like the same. I don't know, I don't get it. Maybe is selecting keychain. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know. Maybe that's break. I don't. Let's see if maybe that one thing might be causing it. I don't know. So let's change this to V. Go back. Okay. Well, that didn't fix it. I don't know what it could be. Maybe I have to set this later. So I'll put that at the end, because I kind of did that for the slider, I think. So that happens all after that sort of thing. Ah, I might know why. This, yeah, because we aren't setting this to anything really, which is interesting. Okay, I've got a bit of a weird loop. So when value sliders change from the slider, it goes to this thing and sets value, which I remember that crashed the editor when I tried that last time, but I guess it worked one way or another. So I'm curious if I set selected key. This may crash the editor, but it looks like this is what I did with the slider, and that works. So let's give it a good old try, shall we? I feel like this should be happening along with this. I don't know. I have a hunch that I should be doing this, so let's give it a go. But yeah, this will probably be the last thing I try doing, because I don't want to keep you guys up too late for those. I don't know. I know some of you are in Mexico, it seems, which is cool. I'd imagine a lot of you are in California, because that's apparently, according to my YouTube stats, where most of my audience is. And in California, it's probably like, I don't know, in the 9 in the morning, maybe? I don't know. I'm just guessing, but I know it's pretty much the opposite time here. Oh, Scopy, you're in Australia. Awesome. Yeah, Australia's pretty neat, eh? Oh, Germany. Hell yeah. I don't know what the time is in Germany. All I know is that America's definitely like the exact opposite of the time here because it's on like the opposite side of the world, and that's basically all I know. Alright, well, maybe this, I don't know. I've been saying that a lot today, I don't know. But, yeah, this thing here, this could... Actually, wait a sec. Why did I do... let's just skip and go to this one and see what happens. So we know it'll work if we can just set it once and it just... Oh, okay, it doesn't work. Does it work twice? Okay, it does work twice. But it doesn't work once, and that's an issue. That's a problem. That is a big problem. How the hell did I do that here? I got no idea. I'm gonna move maybe this out of the way. And I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that's my stomach. I haven't eaten in a little. So, actually, maybe that's a good idea for my stream, because if I start getting hungry, that's like my stomach saying, hey, you should probably, like, get off the computer. So that might be my mechanism of ending the stream. It's like, okay, guys, I gotta eat. But knowing me, I'll keep going, because I have a poor regard for health. Let's see if that worked, eh? No, it didn't work. That's frustrating, because like, check this out. I like put one of these and then boom, it like, see how it like loads and it's like in the same spot? I'm figuring out how to do that, but I don't know if it'll work. Maybe I should just go to bed. I don't know. Well, I think this, either way, we should leave that function looking like this, I think. Because I like to kind of keep this action mapping constantly up to date with whatever's supposed to be assigned to it. So I'll save that. Alright. Hey, we did pretty good anyway, right? We got it working besides one bug, not with the setting itself, but with the widget used to save, or used to capture the value of the setting. So the setting itself actually does work. It's just that thing where it's capturing inputs is it has that little bug of it's not detecting it on the first time. So I'll probably solve that tomorrow maybe. But yeah, in the meantime, I reckon we did good. That was pretty nice. Like, I'll just go through it again one last time, because I reckon I should probably head to bed. So, ramen in Australia. Actually, yes, we do. I don't know if it's anywhere comparable to the rest of the world, but I think it's pretty nice. I do have my fair share of ramen, if you couldn't tell from my hairstyle. It's not inspired by ramen at all. Oh, cool. We got people from Texas, France, India, and the Netherlands watching, and Argentina. Hell yeah. Well, thanks for sticking around for the stream so far, dudes. I'll probably just, yeah, I'll probably stop it soon. We'll probably wrap up soon, but I'll show you guys what we managed to accomplish. So this is like the breakdown part at the end, sort of recap part. So here's what we got. We had all these settings that I was doing in the last previous streams, and they all work. And today we managed to get some custom inputs going on, and we, not just the normal way, we did it in this way that lets me create as much of these settings as I want and lets me drag them into settings and have them save to a file, read from a file, and all of that stuff. So it's using a framework I've developed previously, and it's a tough framework, but I figured out most of it. The only remaining bug is it's a little sticky with those inputs. It doesn't quite get it the first time, so you have to kind of mash it a few times. But apart from that, it saves and loads perfectly. And it resets to defaults as well, which I had a lot of problems with earlier in the week. So that works. So here's the test inputs. So there's input test, which is mapped to my F key, and that'll just print a message on the screen. And then there's the actual jump input, which you managed to jump. So press space to jump, and F to print string. And I'm not making this up as well. You can actually see in that print log, I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see I'm not making this up. See how it says activated with F? That's the actual name of the key. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to input. I'm going to change that to H. And we'll go back and then watch the input log. See how it says H? So it works. That's pretty cool. And then of course there's the actual jump input, which is the same logic as this setting, except it changes the jump action instead. So we can map that to N, just as an example. Now spacebar does nothing, but N will jump. And I should be able to use that to wall run. Yeah, there we go. So I can hold down N as my wall run key. And if I want to be extra cool, I can map that to my mouse button. And I'll make the other one the right mouse button. And so if I right mouse click, see how it prints the string? And if I left mouse click, oh, oops. I think it kicks for some reason. That's the other input. So we might need to, let's map that to right as well and map this one to F again. So right input. Oh, because I've got that mapped to a few other things. Maybe I don't know if it picks up the thumb buttons, maybe. Oh, it does. Cool, so I can have jump as a thumb button. Or no, oh, I have that mapped as well, god damn it. Yeah, I've mapped a lot of these keys. Let's try this one then. Oh, cool, okay, so there's jump thumb button. So I'm using the mouse to jump and to wall run. And I wish I had another camera so I could show you my hand, but I'm basically like, here's my hand that I use for keyboard. Here's the mouse hand. Here's me moving the mouse. And I'm gonna jump and wall run with my mouse as the key. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is me figuring out custom keybinds in UE4. And we got it working mostly. I'm pretty happy we did. So I'm probably gonna sign off. And I'm gonna save all these and back them up. And always back up your work. You don't want to lose it. Don't work off a USB. Don't work off a hard drive. Bad idea. Make backups. Use a repository. All that stuff. So I'm going to file save all. I'm going to check the chat one more second quickly. See if you guys have any closing remarks. Yeah, I need some better proof. Like, well, it'll be in the next update. You'll get to test it for yourself when it's done. So, oh God, I wish I could just release it. Problem is, I'll show you exactly what happens when I try and run it. You guys are gonna love this problem. It's been a bit of a headache for me. But here's the latest build. Let's show you what it looks like. It's brilliant. Watch this. But there you go. Crashing, crash log thing. It will crash and it will now close. And yeah, I haven't fixed that yet, but I'll get around to it. But until I do, well, yeah, I'll get these all working first, then I'll fix that, and then we'll have a next version out soon, hopefully. So, yeah. Now I'm not too worried about that bug. I'm sure there's some weird fix to it. From the research I've been doing, like, a lot of people haven't had the issue, which is worrying. However, I have looked into some things that suggest that perhaps it's to do with the file pointers, because I went and reorganized my folders a few weeks ago. So like this folder structure is completely like different to what I had in the older version, and apparently that causes issues. So I'm gonna just, when I when I get all this done, I'm just gonna like delete the folder and then re-download it from the repository and see if that works. And maybe the file pointers will clean themselves up. I've tried the whole fix up redirections. That doesn't work, unfortunately. But yeah, it'll get solved. It'll have to get solved for me to get it out. So I'm sure there's a fix for it. Anyway, yeah. So thanks all for sticking around for this. I'm pretty happy with the progress we made. I know it was how long did we go for? Maybe 3 hours by now. That's still shorter than most of my other ones. So I think that's good. I'm gonna try and make these shorter and more concise as I keep doing them. So yeah, there we have it. Input settings, custom input settings, along with all this other stuff that I had as well, like graphics settings. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you this too. Look, I set this to low, I press apply, I go back, and boom, now it looks like crap. Now if I go back, set that to high, press apply, go back, boom, now it looks pretty. So those do work. And yeah, so I guess we actually did it. That's pretty cool. So thanks for sticking around. Hope you all have a wonderful evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you are. I want to go sleep. Actually, and maybe I'll eat. Oh, it's like almost 1 in the... I don't know. Should I eat something? I might. I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, I appreciate you all sticking around. If you want to see more updates and stuff, join the Discord, link in the description. If you also want to see more video stuff, because the devlogs are kind of hard to do at times. They require a lot of editing. And if you want to sort of support those videos, I have my Patreon linked as well. $1 can go a long way in helping the production of those. So I have that linked as well. Thanks for being a part of this journey with me. I was happy to share it with you guys. It's pretty cool. Hope you all had fun. And yeah, I guess I'll see you all in the next stream or the next episode and all that stuff. So I hope you have a good evening, fellas. I'll catch you later on.